Hello and greetings, everybody, and welcome to another Fundamentalist Fails. It is Friday here, at least, and I have a special guest with me last minute, probably actually literally last minute, like within the last 10 minutes. Max said, "Can I come aboard?" And I'm like, "Hey, I've been analyzing Witsit with Max before, so welcome, Max. The first time on the show. I usually don't do co-hosts, but what the hell? It's Friday. I feel good. How are you feeling, my friend? How are you
I
doing?
am feeling wonderful, except for the cold because it's winter. But other than that, you can see me now in full HD. I got a new camera, so now you can
New
admire
camera.
my handsomeness
Oh,
in
give us a
full HD.
profile. Give us that profile. Yeah, there you go. Beautiful, beautiful. So Max, if you're unaware, has been a long time colleague, friend of mine. We've worked on the same things. We've done sort of debates that are very related to one another. I'm amazed we've never sort of been together in a debate, actually, now that I come to think of it. That's
Yeah,
probably something we got to do.
yeah.
But he used to host the after shows of Modern Day Debate. Hopefully, he will be at some point in the future again, because he used to take a lot of work off the people doing after shows and consolidate in one place on Matters Now. Matters Now has fallen down, so Max has started up a channel called Sherba Mate Talks, and
Yes.
the Australian enemy wants to just call it Yerba, mate. But that's just oh, sorry, my bad. I don't know why they don't turn on comments on this thing by default. That's my bad. I apologize. Don't blame Max for that one. That's all me. Comments are now on, so you'll see your beautiful comments coming up on the screen. But now you've started a new channel, and tell us all about it, Max. Just first off, what is that, and what are you hoping to do on there?
So basically, what happened after all the problems with Matters Now, Isa, Dr. J, and I decided to split up. We tried to convince Ocean to give us the Matters Now channel because it had become ours over the time he
Yes.
was gone. He
Yep.
wouldn't go for that, so we said, okay, bye. And we started a new channel. So we're basically doing the same thing. We are doing after shows. We already had our first after show for MDD, and
Great. Fantastic.
basically the same content as
Mm.
before. And Sherba Mate, you will see me 99% of the time drinking this
Right.
thing. And this is exactly what Sherba Mate is. It's a very Uruguayan and Argentinian kind of
Right.
a thing.
It's
So I thought it
basically
was apt.
a South American coffee kind of, almost, isn't it? It's sort of
Correct. It's
or
an
yeah.
infusion, and it tastes very herbally and bitter.
Okay.
It's delicious, and you will see people walking down the street in Uruguay with their thermos and their mate, and it's a social thing. And given that
Okay.
I'm like always streaming with my mate, I thought that's a cool thing. And there's an
Okay.
interesting phenomena. There's a lot of people in the audience have been telling me, hey, I'm trying to find shadow. I'm trying to find the actual, this is a gourd that we used to drink out of. So a lot of people are inquiring and getting curious about the mate. So I'm starting a worldwide mate cult for
Oh,
peace.
okay. Oh, exactly what the world needs, another cult. Yeah, exactly what it
No,
needs.
but
Look,
it's a positive cult, because
it
if
is. It
people
is. Yeah.
would go around with their mate, we would have world peace 100% guaranteed.
Okay. Well, I've never tried it. I've never had a yerba mate ever. I can't say I ever have, but I do like my coffee. So herbally things I'm not big on, but I'm willing to try. I'm willing to try anything, quite frankly. But I think that, just briefly, Matters Now. Basically, what happened, and won't go too deep into it, but Ozian, who used to be a friend of mine, used to be a friend of yours, essentially lied to the entire community and said he was going away for work and he would be unable to get to an internet connection to be able to sort of stream. As it turns out, that was a lie that he told everybody and told Max. He was actually in prison for a sting operation related to underage solicitation of sex, basically. So
Yep.
he is absolutely persona non gratis as far as I'm concerned. He lied to all of us. Max did not know. And I really feel for Max, because he did a Herculean effort making Matters Now keeping it running, keeping it going, adding content. I couldn't even imagine the hours that you put in, and it makes me upset that all of your hard work was going to someone just lying through their teeth at you. So, my sincere persona non grata. Okay, no, cool. Thanks, Pinworm. I really feel like, I feel like I really, really feel for you that all of that work, but I want to help in some way because we support our community and sort of say, hey, if you did like the after shows, the talk after the debate, which I would call in there myself because I liked it, not for any kind of try and publish my channel. I just like the talk after, especially with Issa and Dr. J. They're very, very good people to talk to get an opposite opinion, but not sort of, insulting or talk over the top of you. They're very reasonable theists. So I think that's a wonderful idea to have, theist Christian, theist Muslim, atheist all have one channel that can say, hey, we're here to talk to each other respectfully and reasonably.
Yeah, we make such a good team. That we're so
Absolutely.
multicultural, so different from one another.
Yeah.
But we agree on so many things, and it's always been like great fun having them around. So yeah, we're doing our own thing. We're all doing great. We got monetized yesterday, so yeah, we're having fun. It's going to end up being great, and it kind of sucks that I lost about a year and a half of videos of I did a pre-TFE interview with Jaren, a post-TFE interview with Jaren, and I lost all of the content because like he just took it down. But we can make more. It's all good. We're happy. We're ecstatic about the new channel. The community really stepped up in getting us, those view hours. People were telling me, I'm leaving your videos playing while I'm doing other stuff, so you can get those watch hours, and that it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're out there. I'm glad you're starting up again. I know it's kind of one of those things that you lose everything, and if you can start up, there's a quote about some person that can or a person that can gamble on one roll of the dice, lose everything, and build up from scratch again. Then there's other world. That is the person that will succeed. So all the best, and it's great that you've come here today because if you don't know, Max and we've had, I don't know how many conversations on after shows of Witsit just going, what is going on with this guy? Like, seriously. So Max is somebody I have talked to at length, going on and on about, like, trying to find out, like, because Witsit was posted as, like, the spokesperson for Flat Earth, apart from, your Mark Sargent and that kind of person. He really was the best of the best kind of thing for Flat Earth. And I debated him once, absolutely stomped him, and he would never debate me again. He's recently debated Jaren, and I haven't seen that debate. That's one I've got to watch because Jaren used to be a Flat Earther, went on the final experiment by, who was it? Duffy. What's his first name?
Duffy.
Will Duffy. Thank you, Max. Will Duffy did the final experiment, which was going to Antarctica to see the 24-hour sun. And Witsit had said, hey, you can't get to Antarctica. You can't get to Antarctica. Who am I speaking about? What do you mean, Pinworm? Do you mean Austin Witsit or Ozian? Ozian the Betrayer. I'm going to call him that from now on, just to, Ozian the Betrayer. Just let me know and I'll sort out. Austin Witsit is a flat earther, so that's about all you need to know about him. But he was said for ages, you can't get to Antarctica, you can't travel below the 33rd parallel, you can't do that. And even if you did, there wouldn't be a 24-hour sun. Leading up to this final experiment, he changed his tune. Suddenly it was, well, if there is a 24-hour sun, we're going to have to find the cause for it kind of thing. Like this kind of rhetoric, like, oh, well, I acknowledge it could be there now. At least David Weiss, I think it was David Weiss, he sort of said, or Wise, he said, oh, there's no 24-hour sun, you won't find one there. All the way up until, Witsit had to say, well, there's a 24-hour sun there because, he can't lie that much when there's other people. Jaren at least went, hey, this this invalidates the flat Earth map, that equidistant map. It absolutely disproves it. Now he's sort of advocating for a globe Earth, which I respect him for.
Yeah.
He got shown incontrovertible proof that he could not wave away and changed his mind. And I wish that would happen, but according to MC Toon, and this is just his opinion and my opinion, is that while the globe people and Jaren were trying to do experiments, take measurements, actually putting work in down in Antarctica, Witsit did sweet FA. He did nothing. He sat on his ass. So MC Toon, really good guy. Michael's a fantastic guy. I would disagree with his theology, but hey, he doesn't shove that in your face. It's his personal belief. Totally get it. Fine with him on that. He really isn't pushing that narrative, and I respect his scientific views. I respect his views on religion. Don't agree with them, but I don't have to. He's not pushing them on others. It's all good. He's absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. And he really does call out Austin Witsit in particular for his word salad and gibberish and nonsense. But Austin Witsit he will never debate Jaren again. Never.
No.
Okay. He has a pattern, and that is going into a flat Earth debate against people he hasn't encountered before. If they can't deal with his nonsense, he will debate them again. If, like me, they can, he will never debate that person again. He'll just say, "Oh, they were being dishonest. They were being, horrible. Let's just, I'm not debating them anymore." And he's got a million excuses why he won't debate me again, because he will never debate me again.
I have a little anecdote. I don't know if you remember, but Witsit used to say that sound is electromagnetic. And then he also says, everything is intrinsically electrostatics, bro. And I was like, you think sound is electromagnetic? Would you like to debate me on that? And he's been running away from debating me in all kinds. I've proposed all kinds of topics to him, and he's been running away from me for over a year and a half.
Him?
No, he doesn't accept. Because he knows that I know exactly how to counter his freaking lies. And he doesn't accept. I tried to debate him on religion, but he wouldn't go for that either. Tried to debate him on flat Earth, didn't want to do that. Tried to debate him on the very specific topic, is sound electromagnetic? And he doesn't accept that either. No. So he's been running away.
I think him and Nathan Thompson were the big proponents of sort of trying to frame the debate as globe Earth on trial, rather than looking at their own model. That's sort of, they were the main proponents of that little, if you remember a few years ago, there was a segment of they always wanted globe Earth on trial, not flat Earth. And then basically they would get into the debate and say, well, I'm a globe skeptic, I'm not a flat earther kind of thing. It's so ridiculous that what they did. But we'll be looking at a couple of clips, and I was sort of saying this to Max before we started, a couple of clips. One was about, it seems like what he has done, and I have very little respect for Austin Witsit because, and the reason why, I feel like I've got to explain why, but the reason why is because during our debate, he challenged me to evolution. Now, if you don't know, evolution is one of my favorite debate topics, among a few others. Flat Earth generally isn't. I can do flat Earth debates. I can hold up very well in flat Earth debates, but it isn't my favorite topic. Some of my favorites are evolution, theology, philosophy, stuff like morality, things like that. And if you're aware of me, that's what you'll be aware of. But Austin thinks he's an expert on everything. So he said, oh, well, I challenge you to an evolution debate. And I was like, absolutely. Yes, please. Absolutely. Because if you've heard Austin Witsit on anything except flat Earth, he is absolutely tragically bad. Like flat Earth, he's one of the better flat Earth debaters, and that's not high praise. That's just in comparison with, the other flat Earth debaters like Nathan Thompson and, Iron Horse. Like, he's actually pretty good in comparison to them, right?
He word salads pretty well.
He does word salad pretty well, but Any other topic like theology, God, evolution, any other topic, he is absolutely tragically bad, like really bad. So I was like, yeah, sure. And then he's like, oh, I may not do it. And it's like, you just challenged me. How can you challenge me accept, and then you go, well, no, I'm going to back out now within like 5 minutes of one another kind of thing. As you realize,
I remember that instance. It wasn't Matters Now. That video is gone, sadly, but we had the evidence for that.
That happened in the middle of a debate. It's still on my channel, I believe, my debate against Witsit, because I've only had one, and he never wanted to step into the ring with me again. It was like, no, you interrupt, and it's like, you interrupt, you interrupt. I don't know, but it's wild. So what he seems to have done after the final experiment, in my opinion, is basically go into conspiracy theories, any conspiracy theory except flat Earth. Basically say, oh, this 24-hour sun in Antarctica, we're going to have to figure out something about that. And he basically laid low for a few months, right? Basically did any conspiracy except for flat Earth, would not touch it when it was brought up. He would say, look, we're looking into it kind of thing. And then after that time had passed, he started up with flat Earth again. He didn't actually have any answers for the 24-hour sun. He just basically hoped everybody would forget about it. And, flat earthers, obviously, their memories are so short. Everybody seemed to. Nobody in the flat earth sphere is bringing up why that 24-hour sun is there. Nobody is doing that. Right?
No, they have no explanation. It's been 6 months already, and they're never going to figure it out. But now he's trying to dip his toes into different types of derp.
Yes.
But it's going bad for him.
Yeah, and I don't think it brings up sort of it doesn't bring in the money that Flat Earth does, in my opinion, right? Nope. So I think that he's basically trying things on and just trying to find something that will provide him with the flat Earth stuff. But as it hasn't, he's gone back to his good old buddy Flat Earth because of the rabid fan base and the established money that pay him stuff. So that's my opinion, by the way, which everybody knows. Oh, and I want to show you something. My apologies. I do want to show you something.
While you bring that up, could I say
sure.
2 things? Is that the real Kip Davis? I'm a big fan.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Kip. Yeah, Kip Davis.
Wow, I'm a big fan. I love
me too. Content. He's amazing with biblical knowledge and corrects me all the time, which I appreciate because, I've gotten a better, like people talking with people like him, a guy called Peter. I've gotten a really better sense. And of course, Dr. Josh, a real better sense of what life was like and the expectations and the how people used to live kind of thing and what they saw through the lens of the Bible and what it was used for. That we sort of, it's so easy to think of things through a modern lens and sort of go, okay, well this is modern, and you're coming from your perspective. You look at things like Psalms, and Psalms was sort of just poetry and longing and upset. So and I think it's really good to talk to people who are sort of, have a better understanding of different cultures, different perspectives on things. And yeah, I mean, Kip's amazing. Dr. Josh is amazing. Fantastic.
I have a recommendation for you. If you don't know him yet, there's a guy called Justin from a channel called Deconstruction Zone. He's also like, it's those kind of people that you think you know the Bible and then you hear them speak and you're like, oh, damn, I know nothing. I know surface level. They know it inside out. It's pretty good. But the other thing that I wanted to tell you is that there's a weird phenomena happening on Witsit's channel because flat earthers kind of split like the Sea of Moses into 2 camps after TFE.
Yes.
It's all fake camp. Mm-hmm. And then that's just a new piece of data. It doesn't matter. Earth's still flat, bro. So most of the flat earthers are on it was all fake kind of camp.
So it's
they are
conspiracy versus
dismissal.
mysterious force. Yeah, gotcha.
And the problem is that he got super ostracized by his own community, and people just don't, flat earthers don't want, because they're calling him a liar, they're calling him a shill, they're calling him a grifter, and all of these things. So he's not going through a very good time, and also has some personal issues, family issues that he's been a little bit dodgy about, which is hard to feel sad for, except for the kids, but for him.
Well, I don't want to. I don't want to sort of bring personal stuff in at any time. I don't.
Gotcha.
I don't think that's
No
kind
problem.
of the thing to do. But so at the end of the day, he's still a human being, and he still has problems of his own. And I think that that's aside the point. My main concern is that I think, and it, the gathering evidence that I have leads me to believe, and in my opinion, is that he doesn't, like, I've said this before, that I don't think he actually thinks that the earth is flat. I think that he makes money off of it. Now, there's been some people who know him. I know a moderator called Hannah who used to know him and said, no, he actually believes it sincerely. But what leads me to believe this in the build up to the final experiment, the way he changed his tune on the evidence to sort of go, well, it's definitely we can't go to Antarctica, and definitely it's not going to be a 24-hour sun. He changed, going to, well, maybe it will be, kind of thing. It's kind of, I don't know. I mean, that's not definitive, and it is just my opinion, but it sort of shows that he knows full well he's going to have to, come up with something for this, because he knows he's going to be proven wrong. So I honestly have an opinion that he knows.
I agree. A lot of people tell me, oh no, he does believe it. He truly believes it. No freaking way. He knows he's lying about the Michelson-Morley experiment. He knows he's lying about the Earth being stationary, and this whole thing about, oh yeah, Earth is in the center because it's special, because God put it there. He knows he's lying about like every single thing that he argues for. And people tell me, no, but he does believe it. Like, I'm sorry, I can't see it. I can't see it that way.
It's hard to say, because people's thoughts are their own. It's very hard to say. So, when I sort of say, hey, I think that I can't say for sure. No one can say for sure, because the only person that knows his inner thoughts are him, luckily. But, I honestly think that based on his behavior, but I definitely could be wrong. Please, like, prove me
100%. But that's, I just can't wrap my head around.
You have seen a lot more of him than I have. You've watched more of him than I have, because I generally don't. But this one's so egregious, I had to put it in a Fundamentalist Fails. But before I do go on to the video, I have got to do something as housekeeping. So this is Witsit on Jaron versus Witsit debate review on MC Toon. As I said, I talked about Michael. I respect him. He's a good guy. I've talked to him before. He's given me information on, I've asked him what's the best evidence against flat Earth and things like that. So he has been a really good guy as far as the, so the anti-flat Earth community has been involved. A really good guy. So MC Toon, he did a debate review. I do debate reviews myself. Nothing wrong with them. Nothing illegal about them. They are, if you're putting a debate out there into the world, a review, you've got to just wear that. People, if you're putting ideas out, people get to put ideas in. That is generally how freedom of speech works. So Witsit going, yeah, let's just steal. No surprise after you blatantly lied and never paid my attorney out after months of dragging it out and moving the goalpost. I don't know what he's talking about there. I don't know why someone else. I don't know why someone else would pay your attorney. Like, when you retain an attorney, you pay them. Even if you win the settlement, the person who loses a settlement doesn't pay your attorney. They pay you, and then you pay your attorney. I don't know why he's like...
I can tell you a story if you want.
Okay, what's the story there? I've got no idea. What's going on there?
All right. So pre-TFE, Jared and Austin were hounding Will Duffy over the footage of TFE, because they were kind of pestering him that they didn't want the footage of TFE to be used as a hit piece against them. And he's like, dude, the 24-hour sun is a hit piece enough.
That is a hit piece. Yeah.
So absolutely. they drafted a contract. Witsit said he was legally adept, and when they went back and forth with the contract, and then started saying that he was reviewing that contract with a lawyer. So Witsit was not reviewing a contract with a lawyer, and MC Toon stepped up and said, if you're working with a lawyer, I will pay up to 5 hours of your lawyer's time. He just has to send me the bill in the mail, like in the actual physical mail. Yes. So that never happened. And they went back and forth with emails and this and that. So Witsit feels entitled for MC Toon to pay those 5 hours. But the conditions that MC Toon put in order for him to pay those 5 hours were never met. So that's why he is a little bit crying there. Yeah. Yes.
So I think that sort of shows that he was never seeing a lawyer. If you were, you'd just provide the receipts for that lawyer, like just get them to do an invoice. It is so easy to get any company that have engaged will work with you to produce you an invoice. They should be invoicing you anyway. This is not you should have that invoice anyway. And even if they don't, for some weird reason, it is a triviality to get them to produce an invoice, because stuff like that is required for things like tax exemptions and things along those nature. And you should be getting invoices for your own financial records anyway. So it's a triviality to do so. It would be absolutely easy to do so. Okay, so I have all the receipts undeniably proving you're just a lair, of course. Oh, he's a lair. Okay, I'm not going to hassle typos, but that's obviously a typo. You're a liar. This debate was part of an online event that people paid a ticket for, and you're just shamelessly steal it and post it on your channel almost immediately. You're a complete joke. I put in here,
and I'll go down. He didn't steal it, though. Let me clear that up. He paid for it.
And then rebroadcasted it, which would be against copyright if you copyright it, except one thing, and it's something that all of us understand when we're on YouTube. Fair use provides an exception on copyright for comment and criticism. How can you possibly be a YouTube content creator and not understand this? You are dishonest, Witsit, and you've run away from a second debate with me time and time again because you got stomped in the first one. I'm sorry, but you and your entire channel pandering to conspiracy nonsense is the joke. And that's what I wrote underneath, because strong words, but how can you be a content creator and not understand fair use? Okay, and just for Witsit's benefit, and this is what I wanted to get to, right? Just for Witsit's benefit for this, because I'm doing his content. Okay, copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Acts of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purchases such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and education. This is criticism and comment. Okay, it doesn't matter whether you held it in a private auditorium, over a private Discord. It doesn't matter where you put it. If somebody is invited to it and you broadcast it to people, it invites comment and criticism. And in order to provide that for society, which is important, it is important, we have fair use. It's the reason why Witsit can use NASA footage and go, oh, that's, or SpaceX footage and go, oh, that's fake as F, boy, look at that, whatever. It's fake because it's got mice or something on it. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of things that he says, but that's one of the reasons why you can, and SpaceX can't sue you for copyright. It's because you have fair use. You benefit from this as well. Okay, so stop pretending like just because you made something, you have this copyright over it and no one can criticize or review it. That is not the case. It is not the case. Okay. So that aside, so that's for Witsit if he's watching, getting mad that I'm using his stuff. It's valid. It's basically stopping people from putting out garbage, and then actually vexatious is one of the words that they use a lot. I just heard that in transpositions. Vexatious is when you're doing something just to frustrate them.
Basically, that's a great word. Word of the day.
Word of the day, vexatious. Well, it can be used in common parlance, like, oh, my workplace, this guy in my workplace is so vexatious. It just means to annoy or harass or, just make you upset. That's what they're doing, to do that. In litigation, in legal speak, a vexatious litigant is one that is doing lawsuits just to harass or annoy people, just to frustrate them, essentially. And the aim of this is to stop public participation. It's to stop any criticism. And a lot of rich people do the same. Elon Musk does it all the time. Trump does it all the time. They do lawsuits just to stop people from speaking out, and it's not right.
Before you hit play, do you mind if I do my little catchphrase?
Please, go for it. Absolutely.
Before we dive right in, make sure to do the social thingies, like, share, subscribe, send this to a friend, send this to your significant other, go to the corner, yes, the corner of your street, and yo, subscribe to Mark Reed and share my mate thoughts. And that way you can share the love for the channel.
Yeah, that's awesome, Max. Thank you. I'm used to. I thought you were going to say matters now. I'm used to hearing that. To be honest, shout to the corner and shout matters now. But don't do that. Don't do that. No. Matters now is crap.
I don't know what you're talking about. That never
What channel? What channel? Yeah. So this is Oster, and this is sort of what he did maybe a couple of weeks ago, where he said, put out a video saying the Earth is not flat. Now, why would you put out a video saying the Earth is not flat as the subject matter? It's because you're trying to get your audience, right? Like, his audience is drifting away because he went to Antarctica and said, oh, there's a 24-hour sun. So as the Earth is drifting away, he wants to get them back. So he's going to put out an inflammatory title to get them all in to watch, which is kind of, is that clickbaity? Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Pretty much. But let's see what he said. Look, just tell me anytime I can stop the video if you've got something to say, Max, please.
So I find that interesting because let's say you do believe that the Earth's a globe. You should be very disappointed in the utter lack of proponents on your side of that belief, able to articulate your position.
Yeah, there's plenty of them. You won't debate them when they've got when they can articulate their position. Witsit doesn't want to debate them anymore. I've articulated the position very well. He doesn't want to debate me anymore. That's the problem. Yeah. And the thing is that after the final experiment, we're kind of like, well, flat Earth is kind of over, right? It's kind of wrapped up and done. When you get your entire model completely smashed by the 24-hour sun, and all of these people like Witsit and David Weiss and Nathan Thompson said you can't get to Antarctica and it's not a 24-hour sun down there. When we've taken you and proved it, and fair cred to Will Duffy, he did prove to them it was a 24-hour sun, and all of the measurements match up with exactly the thing. Well, actually, it's actually an oblate spheroid. Thank you. Let's get petty about this. But basically, when it matches all of the observations of one side, and all the observations match the model of one side, and nothing on the other side, you go, yeah, that's pretty well done. That's pretty well wrapped up.
Prepared 16 experiments to do while on the way and while in Antarctica. Critical thing did a bunch of weight measurements with his super high end scale, and everything matched the globe. Toon had a little piece of paper in which someone had done all the math for that specific region on how he made a sundial, and it matched exactly. And Witsit was thinking about the day before they went to Antarctica, or the day 2 days before they went to Antarctica, he was thinking about buying a gyro compass to take in his backpack to Antarctica because he had done nothing. Yeah. Toon jokes and says that Witsit was luggage during that whole trip.
Yes. He says he did nothing, no experiments, no calculation, nothing. He just sat there like a lump and streamed to his followers. That's all he did. All he was interested in was talking to his followers, basically. which is very disappointing. I mean, it is the chance for him to take some measurements and find out why it's happening on the flat Earth, and he doesn't feel compelled to do that. Well, that's your problem, mate.
Even his camera failed, and I don't know if you've seen. He got the 360 footage from, I think, Dave McKeegan, and rather than process it correctly and upload it as a 360 video, I have no idea how he processed it. It has like a few ovals of black space where the stitch is made. I don't know how he mangled it, but he mangled the footage, uploaded it like that, and forgot about it. This is so funny. This whole thing, I've laughed so much since December about this whole situation that.
Well, at least Jaren did stuff while he was down there. At least he actually tried, and so Jaren, I think he was being honest, and he wasn't just shilling. He was trying as much as possible, but he's now advocating for a round Earth because his model's been destroyed and everything matched up with the globe predictions about what was going to be down there. Everything. And none of the flat earthers has still explained it. So they had a debate recently, and I gotta see that. David Weiss is also in trouble because he promised 6 Bitcoin to whoever could show one proof of flat Earth. And I think it's Critical Think basically showed all of the footage on the flight. And David Weiss has previously said that a proof would be to take this flight and show that it is only, X hours rather than the 24 hours it would take on a flat Earth. And he's previously said that would be a proof. So they've got footage of him saying this would be a proof. And they've got footage of him promising a 6 Bitcoin to anybody that shows a proof. And he's already admitted this is a proof. And so Critical Think has, and apparently he's looking for a lawyer because that's like $650,000 worth of Bitcoin kind of thing. Of course, David Weiss says, well, that's not a proof. That's just, fill in the blank for the excuse kind of thing. But the problem is that he's already said it was a proof.
I have that link if you want. I'll put it in the private chat because
it's more just an aside. It's more just an aside for anything else. But we're focusing on Witsit because I'm sort of disgusted by what he's done, and I want to get to something that I want to show that he's falling back on because no one really has a ready answer for him, and I have a ready answer for one of his evidences of a flat Earth.
With any substantive specificity, any reason or logical coherency,
Like, the ironic thing is, like, he's talking about no one on the globe Earth side can talk with any specificity, and we specify things. He will not even specify the distance to the sun. He will not do it and say, oh, nobody knows. He will not specify how big the flat Earth is. He will not specify anything. This is mere projection. Because globe model is very specific, incredibly specific. His is not. His has nothing in it whatsoever. The model is it's flat, bro. That's the model. He doesn't have, like, how big is the flat Earth? Don't know.
No,
what's the radius? Don't know. How far is it to the sun or the moon? Don't know. What's beyond the mountains of Antarctica? Don't know. Everything is don't know. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Substantiated, void of fallacious reasoning. That's be pretty frustrating for you.
No, not really. Not really, because none of that is true.
We're doing great, pal.
Yeah, and flat Earth is not considered seriously by anybody outside of these conspiracy bubbles. It's not. To me, it's a joke debate. It really is a joke debate. Like, it's not really a serious debate. It's like, I once did a debate on, is psychology a real science? And I was taking the opposite, just as a mock debate. It's kind of on that level. Of course it is. Like, we have these things in place. Like, it's not even considered as a reasonable explanation of the world. It's not.
Because that is certainly the case. Because it's come to my realization that apparently some people, they think that I'm just so good at debating that I can deceive people.
No.
That's what you think.
Yeah. Well,
the level of
yeah,
projection, the level of projection
Mhm.
is IMAX with Dolby Atmos sound.
Yeah. And even though you may be the best at debate, if you don't have a defensible position, you don't have a defensible position. It doesn't matter how good you are at debate, right? It just doesn't. You don't have a defensible position. And this is where you can take the debate away. Even if someone can't stand up to your time, people reviewing it will be able to take it away and pull it apart, which they do with you, Witsit. Your electromagnetic universe thing, that's been so thoroughly debunked. Your ideas about, planes flying because of, at 350 kilometers an hour because of tailwinds, which is ridiculous. Like there is no 350 kilometer an hour tailwind that will make a plane fly that fast. There is none. It doesn't exist. Like all of these things, you haven't demonstrated that these winds exist. These are the fallacies that we're talking about. But he doesn't understand fallacies. He really doesn't.
He uses them as a defense shield, but
Yes.
I call it the Witsit Fallacy Machine Gun 2000 TM because he just throws out random fallacies just to try and deflect from the conversation. But he doesn't even realize the internal contradictions because he will tell you gravity doesn't exist. It's all intrinsically electrostatics, bro. There's an electrical field, and he's basically quoting Feynman when, yes, Feynman has a lecture of the electrical field in the atmosphere, but he also has a lecture on gravity. So cherry picking there. And when he says everything is intrinsically electrostatics, bro, he forgets that 2 sentences before he said that atoms don't exist and that electrons don't exist, and you can't have it both ways. That's an internal contradiction. Those are mutually exclusive.
For electromagnetism to be a thing, electrons have to be a thing. Like it's wow.
And he gives. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. And I think Kip's got
He gives the example of, I can make a little piece of styrofoam of 0.5 grams float in a Van de Graaff generator. But it's like, dude, you need 20,000 volts when you can float me a bus with a Van de Graaff generation. Get back to me. Other than that, I'm really not interested in that.
Right. And Kip's got a good point. Debates are dumb, they're entertainment. Real scientists and scholars doing real shit, publishing their research. This is the way. Yeah, and I agree.
Yes.
If debates are there then I don't think they're just entertainment. I think I think there are some sort of gains to be made, but I think that from being a person that debates, I enjoy them for a start, and I think that when I'm sort of getting information, I'm conveying it from the experts as best I can. I'm not just being the expert in there myself. I'm not going to say, hey, because I did this study, do your own research kind of thing. I don't think I've ever said that before in my life. That's the problem. They're sort of saying be your own expert, and that's frigging impossible. So when I debate something, I'll be referring to, Dr. Josh or Dr. Kip or, Dr. Bundy kind of thing in evolution debates. I'll be referring to people I know have the expertise and whose work I've actually read to put my point across. I don't think I'm going to go, because of this, and that's what I think personally. I mean, I might do that in philosophy because sort of everybody can do philosophy, but not really. When you're talking about scientific debates, no, I'm quoting the scientists. I'm not going to my own knowledge of things. That's not happening.
And in the flat Earth debate, there's a weird phenomenon is that flat earthers are not going to change their mind. And globers, we all know, we've all gone through the motions. We all know the earth is a globe. But you have people who are there who might be susceptible to getting captured by the cult of flat earth. For those is the ones that the flat earth debate has some kind of value. Because even if you save one person from becoming a flat earther, then
Yeah.
it's worth it. And to me,
Yeah.
I see myself as an entertainer. To me, I just laugh at them, shoot them, like spray them with evidence, and then laugh, because that's all they
Yeah.
can do. It's like,
I don't know. I just enjoy it. I just enjoy taking two ideas and putting them up against one another and tearing them apart to see how whether they are worthy or not. I just enjoy that, and maybe it's something to do with me, but I just enjoy that, and I do it because I enjoy it most of all.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm particularly out to entertain as such. It's more, I don't know. It's more just my mentality and what I enjoy doing. So. And
Yes.
luckily people seem to enjoy it. So, hey, that's a plus. But and I do care if they do enjoy it, but it's not my priority. It just isn't.
Compared
So,
to me, you're way more serious. I'm kind of like goofy, and I don't
probably,
take
yeah.
stuff too seriously at all. But yeah, that's why I'm more of an entertainer than I can
No,
do
that's
serious
fair.
debate. But I always laugh, and the humor aspect of everything I do is always there, because it's kind of my coping mechanism. For sadness, for tragedy, when I'm happy, it's like my defense shield is humor in all aspects of life. But that's
fair, man.
just
That's
me.
fair. Yeah. But at least we're not like Witsit, who's doing to deceive people for money, in my opinion. At least that's not what we're doing.
Well, I do have a gift in certain aspects of debate. Certain, not
No,
not
you
as much.
don't.
Yeah, dishonest aspects of debate. That's the thing. Like, it amazes me that people like Andrew Wilson run a debate school, because they don't do debate. They do arguments. They do I don't know a good word for it. They do childish argumentation. They do obfuscation. They do
It's all
dishonest.
rhetorical games.
Yeah, dishonest rhetorics is what they do, and
Yeah.
Witsit is the same. Just his thing's a
Exactly.
bit different than Wilson, who uses insults and offensive language, like offensive accusations, to stop his opponent. He uses word salad. The Witsit
Correct.
word salad is famous in the debate community because it is ridiculous.
Some people prefer it with ranch. I prefer my Witsit word salad with croutons.
Croutons, okay, cool. A bit of crunch in there, yeah.
But the arguments have still not been rebutted. If what I'm saying,
They really have. They've been rebutted. Like, you take any flat Earth claim, it's been rebutted. It's just the rebuttal is waved away like it doesn't matter. Like his ideas of the 24-hour sun that he claimed would not happen. Like, it has been rebutted, Witsit. Even you have said it's been rebutted by your own eyes, unless now you think, you're not going to believe your lying eyes, maybe. I don't know.
And when he talks about, for example, the Michelson-Morley, the first paragraph of the Michelson-Morley experiment debunks your position with it. The first paragraph of the Michelson-Morley experiment starts with the acknowledgement of Earth's orbit around the sun. Right. It also acknowledges parallax and a bunch of other of the movements of the Earth. So it's like, dude, you don't even have to read the paper. You have to read the first paragraph, and it debunks your whole lie about the Michelson-Morley experiment.
Right.
True. It isn't just because I'm good at debating or wooing the audience or deceiving the people listening. That is a cope. So
that would mean that anybody with a following, including the atheists, have to be telling the truth. Do you see the problem there? It's sort of saying, hey, well, if you get people to listen to you, it's not just your debate tactics. You have to be telling the truth. No, that is not the case. There's another option there, that you're just wrong and people believe you. That's another option, Witsit. Because, he does get people to believe him, but so does every con man everywhere. Like, just because you get people to believe you does not mean you're telling the truth. There's a fallacy in there that he's trying to make it out to be just a dichotomy, that either he's telling the truth or he's just a good debater. No, that's not the case. That's not the only two options.
And I've spoken with quite a few flat earthers that sadly the videos and the interviews have gone away.
Right.
There is a huge part of people getting caught into flat earth that they're either going through a personal tragedy, they're recovering from addiction, they have some sort of problems, and flat earth targets those people specifically because they're vulnerable. Unfortunately, we have many examples of, for example, Shifty Eye Shady, Melodome. They both got caught into flat earth as they were trying to recover from addiction. So they changed one addiction for the flat earth. And that's why they target the vulnerable people.
Oh,
that's
okay.
why
I didn't know that.
Adamant.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I do know that the Venn diagram of theists and like Christian theists and flat earthers is almost a circle. Like, you know, flat earth is almost, it's a circle. Like they're almost always some form of fundamentalist Christian theist. Almost always. I've seen very few examples where they haven't been.
Yes.
It seems like that sort of, and it's weird because even Christians are saying, hey, don't go in for the flat earth because, and it's a weird sort of reason. It's sort of like, well, as the earth isn't proved flat, your faith in God will crumble. It seems to be this intrinsic thing that they go for these, you know, the Bible says the earth is flat kind of thing. And that's why there's sort of a schism happening at the moment. I mean, it's not a huge schism. It's just, there's an argument happening in theists at the moment over whether the earth is flat or not.
Yeah, and but then you also get so many fringe positions, like people, flat earthers thinking that the book of Enoch is scripture, and saying that if the earth is not flat, then God doesn't exist. And it's like, oh my God, dude, do I, and a filthy atheist, have to explain to you that it's not contingent, that you could be Christian Glover and there's no problem with that. You're just wrong in all kinds of ways.
That's what's so beautiful about this stream. It's my stream. You can't interrupt me. I don't even have to read you spiraling in the chat.
Oh, I can interrupt you on this stream. It's just going to be on my channel where I can interrupt you. And the great part is it's then fair use under comment and criticism, Witsit. How's that for a double banger? But yeah, it's kind of, he uses also the Gish Gallop. He throws out so many things and then goes down. But he will happily interrupt other people. And when I pulled him up on that during the debate, I'm like, you interrupted me all the time. He says, well, I interrupt on good faith, i.e. I've got a special exemption for interrupting because I'm doing it for me and you're doing it for you. And, you know, I didn't even interrupt that much during the debate. He interrupted me more, but he sees that as fine because, in my opinion, he's a narcissist. He thinks it's absolutely fine for him to do it because he is the one that's doing it, which is just unreal.
Rules for you, but not for me.
Correct.
Coherent facts. So I found that to be very interesting, a very interesting cope. A lot of people on the other side oftentimes will just say that what I say just doesn't make sense. And I'm really starting to get interested just in like the psychology of things. Like, what exactly is going through your mind when you say that I just say use word salad?
Okay, so word salad is the usage of terms that have no fundamental meaning within a scientific context. So it's basically using very technical terms, but not showing the actual technical matter that explains what those concepts mean and how it works. So you're just throwing out, big words like, centrifugal paradigm of force, for instance. Like that's a long word that you could sort of say, oh, well, it means this in flat earth speak, but there is no actual technical explanation of it. So when we throw out something like inertial frames of reference, right, we can explain what that means. We can say, hey, it means that inertia inside of a certain frame or certain location or a certain parameters, inertia will keep its own momentum and not dissipate unless acted on by another force. that's an inertial frame of reference. We can explain what it means. But he throws out terms that when asked here to explain what it means, he says, what you don't even understand, centrifugal paradigm forces. It's really word salad. It doesn't mean anything. And he has no explanation for it.
And
He cannot explain it.
His defense,
Yeah.
if you accuse him, he's like, dude, you're word salading me. Like, calm down. And he's
Yeah.
like, define word salad, bro.
Yeah. I mean, one that I remember from him is he talked about, the sort of something to do with electromagnetism. It was something to do with light or something, some kind of electrical electromagnetic force. And so I said, what's the wavelength of that force that you're describing? Right. So if you've ever even picked up a book on electromagnetism, you'll understand that the wavelengths or the frequency defines how much the signal repeats. Right. So how frequent those dips and curves of the wavelength is. Right. It's a very, very basic term. And he says, what do you mean? And it's like, what? The frequency, all light has a frequency. We have the visible spectrum of light. It has a frequency, and that shows what color it is, right? Like this is what we're talking about. And some frequencies are outside human sight, like the ultraviolet and infrared frequency, but all of them will have it. And then he says, what do you mean by the wavelength or the frequency? It is baffling. It'd be like saying, well, what's the amplitude of that signal? And him going, what do you mean? And it's like, what are you talking about? I won't go into it all at the moment, but just understand that he throws out these terms that he cannot explain the specifics of, much less how that actually relates to flat Earth or works in flat Earth. And that's what we're talking about with word salad. It is simply terms thrown out to describe things in his model that he can't explain and does not provide any, in his own words, any specificity for.
What do you think? What I found is that people think if they say something with enough conviction, they think they can convince the other people, everyone else, and that's a win for them.
The irony. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Creationists, young Earth creationists, flat Earther creationists, they are immune to irony. Absolutely immune to it. Like he does not get the irony that he just says stuff with conviction and just expects everybody to believe it.
Yeah,
Incredible.
100%. And they don't get irony. They don't get humor. I've met so many flat earthers that I make a joke and they're like, they think that I'm speaking like serious. They don't take social cues. It's amazing how they conduct themselves. Sometimes I wonder, like, how did you get to be a functioning adult?
Well, humor's one thing that I don't get a lot of as well because I'm on the autism spectrum, right? Like, so I sometimes miss sarcasm as well, I must admit, kind of thing. But the irony of him saying that is just, at least I get irony. Like, I do get irony, and I've got enough self-awareness to sort of go, to at least be aware that if I say, hey, debaters are terrible that do, I'm not talking about all debaters because I am one. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I would at least understand the irony of me saying that all debaters are terrible. This is 100% projection, 100%. It's so bad that he just doesn't understand. So bad.
And they get so invested in this process that they actually forget to even care about what the truth is. And what's really bad about that is you actually have to begin to try to kind of believe it yourself to really get in character to then convince it. So you start to become truly detached from reality, like deluded.
Dude,
Holy
you're
crap.
describing yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, and I don't think anyone would believe in flat Earth or do these debates on flat Earth if they didn't also believe the Bible. because they on, like, when you get to the heart of the matter, and Witsit did it in our debate, he went to the Bible, he went to his religion, you know, and really falls back on that religion hard. They try not to do it in debate, but when left with no choice, they will fall back on that religion. And that's very telling, that you've then abandoned any scientific efforts at all and fallen back to, well, I know the Bible is true. And a lot of them do that. And Witsit did it in our debate. And of course, he never wants to debate me again because, you know, it made him look bad. So Witsit does this all the time. He gets somebody in, they kick his ass, and he never debates them again, saying they're dishonest, they interrupt, they do this, they do that, because he doesn't, you know, he knows how bad it looks for him.
I didn't even get a shot. He came to the after shows a couple of times and got to know. It's like, yeah, you don't fool with Max if you can handle the heat. And I never got even my first debate. I'm so sad.
Yeah. No, it's overrated. Trust me. It's yeah.
But I would have so much fun.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, for sheer enjoyment from your end, absolutely, absolutely.
I would encourage you guys to not do that, because I was looking into it. People think like it's all fun and games and whatever. Dude, you're constantly being manipulative and deceiving and omitting and you know, it's like it turns into like all this slander and all stuff. Dude, it has proven side effects.
And it's funny that Witsit is the one that slanders. He's the one that says you're taking money from NASA. You're a part of this system. You're doing this. He's the one that does that. I don't think I accused him of anything during our debate. You know, I just said he was wrong. That's not slander, Witsit. He doesn't understand what slander is. Number one, opinion is never slander. Just get that through your head to start off with. If I have the opinion that you are lying, that's not slander. Okay, like you're confusing a legal term with perhaps a debate etiquette term, right? That if you say, hey, we don't, you know, you say something like that's a personal attack, right? Like you don't, like a ad hominem attack, right? That's not the same thing as being slander. Okay, it's not.
Right.
He doesn't understand this stuff.
Or an ad hominem versus an insult. But out of all of the things that he just said, I would like to see the research on how that produces side effects. And also, he tries to take some kind of moral high road. And it has, like, I know the dirt. I know a lot of things. And like you can't lecture anyone on morals. You can't lecture anyone on lying, on hiding stuff. You just can't do it. Like, seriously.
Yeah. I you know, this is a man who used ChatGPT, and I was there for that debate. He used ChatGPT for citations because I was like, he was giving these citations, right? And I furiously looked them up because he was giving citations and they led to nothing in Google Scholar, nothing in any other, you know, reference library I could find, led to nothing, none of them. And it seems like he was using ChatGPT, in my opinion. But, you know, that's sort of where he's coming from. And it's crazy that he's going back and calling other people dishonest when he doesn't care. Like, he doesn't care whether there's papers there to support his position. He cares whether people believe it. And, you know, maybe he was silly enough to think that ChatGPT would give him actual citations instead of the nonsense that the language engine just makes up because it's pulling language from places, maybe. But I don't know. It's crazy that he's then accusing the other side of pretending and making stuff up. It's crazy.
Physical side effects. Like, you'll start to get ailments. You'll have gut biome issues.
So he's saying that when you're lying, you'll get helmets. Do you know what a helmet is?
Ailments, he said.
Oh, you'll get ailments, was it? I thought
ailments, yeah. But I'm just baffled. I didn't catch this when I watched the first time. I'm just baffled that he believes that we have gut biomes. I would think that those things are fake.
True.
I heard a flat earther talking with Craig the other day say that rabies doesn't exist. And I was like, oh my God, no. Have you never seen a dog foaming out the mouth? Would you be willing to bet your life on it and get yourself let yourself be bitten by that dog?
Yeah. Just to sort of quote most medical personnel in the world, if you get bitten by a dog or something like that, go to the hospital, get a rabies shot. Please. I'm begging you, because rabies...
It's no joke.
Absolutely, it's no joke. And we can treat it before symptoms start to show. As soon as symptoms start showing, it's basically untreatable. So please, if you do get bitten by an unfamiliar dog or, you know, some animal, especially a bat, if you get bitten by a bat, run to emergency. Don't call an ambulance. Do something to get that rabies shot straight away, because once symptoms show, it is too late. I think there's been one person to survive rabies once symptoms start to show. Like, it's absolutely fatal. So don't play around with that stuff. And this is the medical misinformation that they put out. It's terrible, right?
Absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, he's sort of talking in medical terms like, you know, you'll get ailments, your gut biome. Well, statistically speaking, yeah, probably. But what are the statistics on, like, does he have any actual studies on, you know, people? Like, I don't know. I'd like to see the study. It wouldn't surprise me, but I'd like to see the study here. You know, but he's basically going, oh, you're going to get sick because you're lying.
Yes.
What?
But if you ask him, okay, give me the evidence, he'll tell you, oh, I could send it. It's like, okay, send it. And I'm still waiting for evidence from an aftershow like a year and a half ago.
Yes.
We'll have a lot of issues. We'll get diseases. And over time, you'll get more and more diseases.
Ask Dr. Witsit.
Like, if you lie a lot, you actually may get Alzheimer's faster. Very interesting.
Uh-huh.
Well, that was
You may get Alzheimer's. So I tried to research this. I couldn't find any papers supporting this. I found a lot of papers talking about how people with Alzheimer's tell falsehoods a lot, like things that are not true a lot, but I'm not sure that's the same as someone that lies getting Alzheimer's. I'm not sure it's the same. I couldn't confirm this. I tried to find at least something. I didn't take a lot of time, but it seemed to be papers on people that have Alzheimer's, essentially lying a lot, like basically misdescribing things and not getting the truth. But that's not the same as people lying leads to Alzheimer's. Just people with Alzheimer's say things that are not true a lot, which may not be intentionally lying. So I don't know. I'd like to see the citations on these papers, because, you know, he may just be making shit up. Look, it wouldn't blow me away or anything. You know, I wouldn't say, oh, well, you know, doing these things leads to, you know, because of the increased stress with people lying, as it increases stress, that would cause a whole number of problems. Sure. But, you know, to just say, hey, you Globers are going to get sick because, you know, you're lying. What if you're lying, bro? Well, maybe you're going to get sick. Guess what? Guess what? Flat earthers get sick too. You're lying.
Oh,
Incredible.
my stars.
Incredible.
side tangent, but I just think that's very interesting. It's very prevalent in this discussion. So I would encourage you to step back and think, if I'm having to tune out, if I'm having to censor the information, if I'm getting emotional, why?
Yeah, so one of his strategies is to say inflammatory things to make the opposition emotional. That's one of the things that he does. It's basically trying to poke and prod him and, you know, you work for this, bro. And a lot of flat earthers do this. They will try to make the opposition sort of, you know, frustrated. And that then they can say, hey, look, you're being emotional because you know it's not the truth, kind of thing. It is just a tactic. It's just a rhetoric that they do. Has nothing to do with anything. And nothing to do with anything.
Constantly interrupts you, and then when you go, shut the fuck up, let me finish a sentence, he's like, you're emotional, bro. He's like, yeah, because I get permanently interrupted. That doesn't work with me because I just laugh it up and continue. So that might contribute to him not ever wanting to debate me.
Yeah. Yeah. He likes people that he can work up to make emotional and then go, look, they know they're lying. They're all emotional about it because they know they're lying. Like, it is just a tactic, and a very dishonest one at that. There's other reasons why people get emotional in a debate other than lying or misrepresenting or trying to sabotage the debate. There's other reasons, and with Witsit, I mean, I really do believe, it is my opinion, that he goes out of his way to make people annoyed at him, like to really frustrate people. It kind of is that. Also, it's frustrating to talk to somebody who gets so many things wrong, yet they have this cockiness and confidence that they're absolutely right, even though when they're shown to be wrong, they just drop it and move to something else. Because that's what he does. He doesn't have rebuttals for anything. He just drops it, moves to some other thing. And you'll notice that all throughout his debates. And then he'll just say, hey, you've never provided one rebuttal. And you're like, no, I did. You just never came back to the rebuttal to address it.
Uses a lot of the tactics that are available, like shotgunning a bunch of points. And it's like, oh, but you didn't address this. And a bunch of, really sleazy tactics that if you're arguing, even if you don't agree, like I don't agree with a lot of Christians in a lot of things, but there are Christians that can articulate their points without resorting to any of those strategies. And those conversations are fun to have because they're honest and you can, have a dialogue. But you will see that when he goes in debate, he goes into machine gun mode of just speaking really fast, stuff that he rehearsed a million times so that he can start speaking really fast and goes into that mode. That is on purpose, just to, kind of try to bamboozle you so you can't keep up with the words.
Yep. And all of these things, like I've had it real time. He'll say something that does not exist in any literature anywhere in science. And then when you try and find out what it is, he'll be like, "Oh, you have to Google that, do you? You don't know about this thing, this obscure thing that I'm using that only exists in the flat Earth, realm kind of thing." It's very dodgy, incredibly.
Two examples come to mind: curved visual space and the azimuthal grid of derpitude. I call it. They say azimuthal grid of vision, but it's derpitude. Those things. The azimuth grid is basically how we organize the stars in celestial navigation, but the azimuthal grid of vision, that part is invented, so it becomes a holeless concept. They hijack something that exists, but turn it into something that doesn't exist. And the curved visual space, they say, oh, yeah, it's they've hit such a low that they say that the curve of the Earth is made because our eyes see in curved visual space. And it's like, dude, if that were true, we could never see a straight line. And I'm looking at the edge of my laptop. That's pretty damn straight.
Yeah.
Why are you doing it? It's the truth, because the evidence has shown that the Earth is, in fact, not what we were told it is. The surface of the Earth is not curving at the rate required for it to be a sphere.
Not the rate that you say. Yours is just a shortcut. Like, it's whatever they say, it's 8 miles per, whatever. That's just a shortcut. It curves on an exponential rate. So, your linear thing.
8 inches per mile squared.
Right. Which is not an accurate rate. That's just decent enough for, it will be accurate over shorter distances. But when you go to really long distances, it doesn't work anmeore. That's where
I
you
have a little demonstration of that. Would you like to see it? Doesn't take too long. 1 sec. Where is my curve thing? I should have had it ready a little bit before. I'm sorry. We'll get it over to you in just a moment. But it's the 8 inches per mile. I think it's this one. No. Maybe if you want to hit play, I'll look for it and we'll double back to it.
The radius of 3,959 miles. And there are many different ways that we have proven this. Whether that be long distance line of sight radio transmissions, for example, radio transmission over 900 megahertz with 832 miles 15 foot above the water, received by a buoy that was just 6 foot tall, should have been blocked at like 10 miles, went 832 miles over 900 megahertz.
Okay, so this is the one that I really want to talk about, because this is up my alley of network communications, right? So this is low WAN. It's low power, wide area networks, and this is what I am aware of, right? This is my jam. So there was a new record set. I'll just share this tab by the Things Network. So this is Internet of Things. What's Internet of Things? Internet of Things is the idea that as we go along, and sorry for the bright white light, there is no dark mode for this, I did check. So as we go along, we're going to connect more and more things up to the internet. And at the moment, it's like, I think 4 things for every person on the planet, sort of, 20-something billion devices connected to the internet. By 2030, they estimate it's probably going to be about 10 devices for every person, or 90 billion devices connected to the internet. Part of this is this shows the traversal of the signal. Now, it's very important to understand what's going on here. And this is the 830 miles is the new LoRa record. Right.
Can I make a prediction before you actually explain it to see if I would guess that because of the signal itself, that it diffracts and hugs the curve of the Earth. That's what I would. That's what I would hope.
Absolutely not. Okay. Absolutely not.
No. Thank you.
No, the diffraction isn't that much. It is not that much.
Okay. No problem.
But if you have to understand what they actually did there, right? So what they actually did. So after 3 years, a record was set by installing trackers on a fishing boat, and that's the one that he said was, a few meters above sea level, and on buoys on the coast of Portugal, right? So that's the one that they say is, at sea level, essentially. Okay, so do we understand that? Those have the trackers. Okay, so those have the receivers, and I can get the receivers for you if you want. It's just all very technical. These are the microelectronic receivers. I'll just share this. So these are the receivers. Well, they're transceivers technically, right? So really what's happening is that the tracker was able to make contact with the Canarian Islands, right? Which is this place over here. If you can see my mouse, this place over here. 3 messages had been received by the Cabla. You're probably better at this one with Spanish there, Max. The Cable Pilotoros gateway connected to the Things Stack Community Edition, right? What is a gateway? Which Witsit won't know, and I don't blame anybody for not knowing. A gateway is a base routing device or base server that accepts incoming signals, right? So it's not talking about the buoy connecting to the boat or the boat connecting to the buoy. What they are talking about is the boat or the buoy connecting to a base station in the Canary Islands. And if you've ever seen the Canary Islands, they are basically a series of mountains that are close to, it's basically an island of mountains. Like, it's actually very, very beautiful, beautiful land over at the Canary Islands. But they are not talking about these two communicating with each other, which is what Witsit is saying. They're talking about both of them connecting to the base station, which is on land in the Canary Islands. Now, the Custodian project did it. So this is the people that did it. The Portuguese authorities tracked vehicles, and they did it because GPS is too expensive for small vessels. This is the people that did it. GPS is too expensive for small vehicles. So this is an example of what they did. This is an example of the buoy, the ship, and what do you notice in the background here? Here, I'll zoom it in just to make it easier on you. Oh God! All right. What do you see in the background there? Do you see that? Sorry, you're on mute, Matt.
Sorry, I was muted. A very tall antenna.
That is a very tall antenna, right? That's a very tall antenna in the background, and that's what they're talking about. It's connecting to the base station, not in between the two. Now, it's still significant because at 90 millihertz, that is a tiny signal. It is low. It's like in the millivolts that it uses in power. Like it uses stuff, and they've managed to get it so far. It is such an achievement. But that doesn't mean they're doing it across the water between those two. It means they're doing it from base station to this tower. And I'll show you also a couple of...
The antenna looks to be on top of a hill kind of a thing, right?
Well, that's an example picture. I couldn't find the one of it exactly, and that might not be the one we're talking about. But yeah, let me show you the previous records. So these are the previous records for the Things Network. So the previous holders of that same record that they broke. Okay, the first one was done by weather balloon. They sent a balloon up, right? And you can see on the map here, the base station was down in, sorry, I don't know why that's showing up there, but the base station was down in France. The gateway was picked up. The signal was picked up in France. The balloon was all the way up and it landed in the Netherlands. It started in Germany and landed in the Netherlands. Okay. And all of those colors are the hits it got to the base station all the way back in France, right? Why could it do that? Because it was a balloon. It was really high up. There were no line of sight issues. That's why it could do that. It wasn't from balloon to balloon. It wasn't anything like that. It was from balloon to base station because that's how it works. Now, this one was the one before this one. So this was the second previous world record holder. This was from a balloon, a gateway in the Czech Republic to a balloon in Germany, and then again floated over to Netherlands, right? This is the previous one. That was the tower that they transmitted to. What do you notice? It's a massive tower on top of a hill, of a hill, connecting to a balloon, right? What does it mean? It means that Witsit hasn't actually looked into this. He hasn't actually studied it. He just went, oh, they've transmitted this distance and ships and buoys were involved. Proof of flat Earth. It's not. It's not. It's proof that we can transmit a low power signal to a tower on a mountain a long way away. That's all. That is all. Right? But
that's a great info. I didn't know any about this, so
he
thank you so much
actually
for that.
Looked into it. He has not looked into it because they're not saying that they're transmitting directly. The important word to remember is the gateway. The gateway is the connecting device or server or route that opens you up to the internet. And that will not be on the trackers. That will be on what the trackers are connected to. If the boat has a tracker and the buoy has a tracker, neither of them are the gateway. Absolutely neither of them are the gateway. It is the gateway is back in the tower. And, you know, I might email these guys and just get a lowdown on confirming this. But, you know, that is how the previous two worked when they did them. The previous two, that's how they worked. I don't see why it would suddenly change. I think that he's read something, completely misunderstood it, and then basically taken it as flat Earth proof.
But I think you overestimate him. He doesn't actually read. He gets all of this stuff from other flat earthers that do the actual work, and he just parrots it. Like, for example, right now, their new thing is some guy called Dr. Heffron developed a method that they're calling celestial theodolite, which ironically, after many, many years of saying, you can't measure the shape of the earth by looking at things in the sky, now they're looking at things in the sky. So the method is, from a vantage point from where you are, you observe a star until it gets occluded by the top of a mountain or a hill or something like that. And you measure the angles, and they're like, you see, proof flat Earth. But when you actually do the thing in the method, it absolutely doesn't work. You get flat Earth results, you get globe results, you get concave results. So the method is just flawed. But that's a new BS that they're peddling. I found the thing that I wanted to show. Would you pull it up for just a second?
Oh yeah, sorry. Yep.
So a friend of mine made this. So we have the flat baseline and we have the curve of the Earth. And also he included a little bit of the, if I move the slider, you can see there's a cursor there that moves. This is the 8 inches per mile squared thing that they always go to. And you can start moving and it sort of matches up until you get roughly to about 1,000 miles, in which, because 8 inches per mile squared is a formula for a parabola and not a curve, not a circle, I mean, not a circumference, then it starts diverging. And the more you diverge, it splits away from
it's inaccurate.
the curve of the Earth. If you want to share this link to the people in the audience
sure.
I'll put it there in the top of the side chat because I'm not a mod here. I forget.
You probably should be, Max. I do like to have my mods on Discord and stuff, but you probably should be, mate.
You have me on Discord too.
Yeah, but I mean in the server, in my Discord server.
I am on your Discord server.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just. Oh, it's slander. It's slander all the way. It's slander.
I'll do you a quick comment there, so you don't have to dig up through my messages.
All right.
But if you want to do some flat Earth destruction, that link when they go to the 8 inches per mile, just pull up that and it destroys their nonsense.
Yeah, right. I'll send you a sort of I'll send you a rundown on Discord about moderation stuff. Pretty easy to do, but that's okay. I've had problems with moderators in the past. That's all. So
but
very sensitive.
We're cool. I just want to sharing links and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no problem.
But we can definitely. I can accommodate to your style. I'm a moderator in so many channels.
To be honest with you, like people get upset if they're not a moderator, and I'm like, I don't want to be a moderator. Like I'd rather not have to deal with people that are being weird. Anyway, that's a tangents in the chat. Tangents in the chat. But yeah, the whole thing is that this is stuff that I have actually studied. And sort of, so when looking into this, I'm like, oh, well, this makes perfect sense. And the reason how I know that he knows nothing about what he's talking about with this signal is he's like, oh, it's 90 megahertz basically. And it's like, yeah, that's very low frequency and it's supposed to reach this distance. And it's like, oh, he doesn't understand that low frequency stuff travels further. He doesn't understand that. It's high frequency that has greater attenuation and drops off. Oh, Billy said something as well. You thought it was clear day and it was good atmosphere, but it wasn't ducting. It's just, so the thing about low frequency is it travels further, but it's interrupted by things more. So everything will interrupt the low frequency signal, right? So but it travels further. It's like, if you think about sound, okay, if you're going towards a party, what's the first sound that you hear first when you're going towards a loud party that's happening? You hear the bass, right? You hear low frequency sounds. Yeah, you hear the bass first. It's because it travels further. However, it's interrupted by more and converted to vibrations more. So there's a problem that he doesn't understand the basics. The amazing thing about this is how little power this device takes to power and how far it got the signal. It's mostly due to its error correction and things like that enable it to work. But this is very, very good atmospheric conditions. So no smoke particles, clouds, anything interrupts the signal. But it's not proof of flat Earth because they're not picking it up from the boat to the buoy or the buoy to the boat. They're picking it up from the gateway, which is the base station. That's the explanation. It's just he doesn't understand how this works and doesn't even understand enough about the field of how to look into it. how to find out how this actual device works, how an integrated circuit actually is implemented into network communications. He doesn't understand even how to approach looking into it, which is what a lot of experts find. I mean, not that I'm an expert, but I have way more knowledge on this field because I at least did study it. You know, I studied it at university, just this field. So at least I know how to look up, oh, how does this transceiver work? How is it picked up by the transmitter? How is it picked up by the receiver? And found out, well, it's using a third gateway. That's it. That's the explanation.
That is so cool. I didn't know that because that's, of course, way out of my field. But now I have incorporated it into my knowledge base. So thank you for that, Mark.
Well, that's the great thing about having a wide range of people with a wide range of backgrounds in our community. You know, people will pick up other stuff that other people don't. And, you know, I've been told by, you know, MC Toon things about Flat Earth that I never knew, you know, and it's fantastic. We can't be specialists in everything, except Witsit, apparently, who thinks he's a specialist in absolutely everything.
He's the expert test of the experts.
Oh,
humbly, bro.
Humbly.
Yeah. Yes.
And guess what? It was really clear conditions outside.
That's
why they were able to send it.
Yeah, that's why they were able to send it that distance. Yes, very clear conditions. But it wasn't between the 2 points you think, Witsit. It wasn't between the 2 points that you think it was. That's the problem.
Oh, it bounced off the ionosphere. No, it didn't.
No, it didn't. That they weren't doing an ionic bounce. It's not possible with that frequency. No, they weren't. But they were using a bloody big tower on top of a bloody big mountain. That's what they were using. It was very high up, Witsit, just like you. Very, very high.
The ionosphere, in your paradigm, goes up to 40 megahertz.
Yes. Yes, it wouldn't. No, he's right. It wouldn't have bounced at that frequency.
Yeah. So I find that interesting because let's say you do believe that the Earth's a globe. You should be very disappointed in the utter lack of proponents on your side of that belief.
Oh, it started again. Okay, so I must have finished it. All right, so that's the first video where he's basically projecting all of his problems, all of his terrible arguments onto us. Okay, and this is the second one. Now, I won't do all of this one because it probably will go on a bit long, but basically this is what he put on his channel. He was called in to talk about, I don't know why, he was called in to talk about the Black Hawk crash. And this is like maybe 4 months ago now. The Black Hawk that crashed into the airline, right? So this is,
For a while, when the TFE, when they announced that they were going to TFE, flat earthers started turning on them just for agreeing to go. So the truther community, as they call themselves, when someone dared to question, to put into question their position, aka the Earth is flat, and actually do real world things to verify if the Earth was flat or not, the so-called truther community immediately turned on them. You're shills. You have always been controlled opposition. You have never been real flat earthers. So for a while, Witsit tried to dip his toes into a bunch of different grifts. And I don't know if you saw, but Witsit did with Dr. Chris, fantastic guy. They did a debate on fluoride. In that debate, Witsit confused sodium fluoride, which is a salt, regular salt, what they use to fluoride the water. He confused that with hydrofluoric acid. And chemistry is a big passion of mine. I was pulling up the last remnants of my hair. I was like, no, that cannot be. And he was like, yeah, they do toxic waste. And it's like, dude, even if you start with toxic waste, you can get a compound that is clean. Take, for example, sodium metal. It's a metal that ignites with even the humidity in the air. So you have to keep it sealed in oil so that it doesn't touch water because it turns on fire. It's a metal that turns on fire. Take chlorine. Chlorine is poisonous in most of its forms. And now you combine those two things that are very dangerous by themselves, and you get what? Table salt, one of the most innocuous and needed elements in our diet, right?
NaCl, salt, table salt, just normal salt.
He doesn't get like basic chemistry that a salt is very different than an acid, and that you can start. You can start with a salt and get an acid, or you can start with an acid and get a salt. But that doesn't mean that even if you start with toxic sludge, if you run it through the chemical processes, the output, the compound that you get, can be clean. And he doesn't understand like any of it.
Yeah, and like you take two elements, like you take hydrogen and oxygen, incredibly flammable by themselves, like insanely flammable. You put them together and you get water, which is completely inert and will not, it's sort of like that. You can't just say, hey, because this element is in the chemical formula, it has the properties of that element. That doesn't work. If he wants a fallacy for it, it's the composition division fallacy. You cannot take the particulars of the division, like the little parts of it, and apply that as a whole to the entire thing. It doesn't work. It does not work. But that's chemistry for you. That's basic chemistry. Oh boy. So he's come on as an expert. I don't know why. Witsit knows nothing about planes, nothing about accidents. He's known nothing about anything. As an expert on this sort of, unhinged conspiracy channel.
So it's good to have you. I know you've been on Stu Peters a couple times. It's great to have you on Shots Fired. How's it going, Austin?
Good. Thanks for having me. I'm glad I finally got to jump on.
It's great.
Yeah, the expert on plane crashes. Like, he's thinking about them. Like FAA's greatest asset.
It's great to have you in and weigh in on this. So first of all, when we saw, the DCA tragic plane crash last week, we had a Black Hawk somehow crash into just an American Airlines plane at nighttime. Bizarre circumstances, of course, and in the airspace that is truly the most watched and the most protected in the United States. I mean, Washington, D.C. and surrounding DCA. So
well, watched by who? Air traffic controllers. And there was a lack of people on as air traffic controllers at that point. And usually there's one person watching commercial flights and one person watching helicopters, military operations, things like that, right? There's usually an air traffic controller for each of them. At that time, there was only one person on, which was unusual at that time. That's one of the factors that contributed. So when you say most watched, it wasn't in fact as watched as it usually would have been. That's one factor. It's important to note, because she's trying to suggest, it's just watched so closely. Usually, not that night. That was a problem. It's important to note that.
I don't know if you like him, but John Oliver did, I think, a week ago.
Oh, I do. I love John Oliver. He's amazing. Yeah.
A report on air traffic controllers. And it's a very stressful job.
Yes.
So, I mean, and it's a job where mistakes cost lives. So,
correct.
With the ethos of the current administration in the U.S., I mean, if something doesn't change, these things are going to happen. And let me just point out that, Austin, for fuck's sake, you need to stop wearing orange. Like salmon, that color doesn't fit you. You look like you're naked. I'm sorry.
Oh, look, I'm not
irrelevant stuff.
I'm not
it just
the fashion
triggers
police.
me to know.
I don't know. I'm not the fashion police. Look,
I am the fashion police. Yes.
Okay. Well, I definitely am fashionably challenged, but at least I know enough. I wear grays, I wear blacks because they can mixed and matched with everything. So,
Yeah, but he's apparently going to the same person that stains Donald Trump's skin, and he's getting that, that orange tint. So yeah, it doesn't work. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I
so
just find that hilarious. I'm stupid.
apparently Billy found it. I didn't find the elevation. I did look for it. So Billy's Google foo is better than mine. Laura messaged you the Cabla
Piticheros.
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 Piticheros. I don't know.
Perfect. You got it.
Gateway, 4,170 feet above sea level, over 1.2 kilometers. Well, yeah, yep. And that's what I'm talking about.
Read the last part. Witsit is an ignorant liar. I agree.
Well, yeah. Well, he can't be ignorant and a liar. It's usually one or the other. Well, maybe he's ignorant of some stuff and lies about some stuff, but yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's the peak known as Cerro
Petitios.
Petitios. Okay, so yeah, and this is what I'm talking about. Like, you know, when I have sort of studied in that industry, I've worked in that industry, and I read something like that, I can understand, hey, gateway, that means there's a ground station somewhere, right? There is a gateway to the rest of the internet, and that's not going to be a transceiver because that's not what its function is for. Witsit and flat earthers don't understand that because they don't have enough knowledge about it to understand it. And I'm not saying they have to, but like, you know, check in with people who actually understand the field instead of going, well, I've done my own research. They sent a signal from a buoy to a ship. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. They absolutely did not. That is not what they were trying to do. It's not what they did. You are misrepresenting what they did. Stop it. Check with somebody who knows the field before you start putting this crap around. Oh, yeah. Anyway, moving on. But thank you, Billy. I appreciate it, mate. I was looking for that. But yeah, recalculate with 1.2 kilometers of elevation and see how far you get. Do that.
Your thoughts when you first saw this crash on TV, and what have your thoughts been since then? We'll start there.
Yeah, so I didn't know what to think at first. Obviously, I thought it was pretty wild. I thought maybe a coincidence or maybe organic at first, I guess. I'm open to that because I kind of have such a bias against it that I try to check myself. But as I looked more into it, it definitely wasn't organic as far as I can tell.
Yeah, and you're the expert, right, Witsit? You're the expert because, you know, as more you looked into it, because, you know...
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, it's just, you know, he's not an investigator. He has no reports from people. His looking into it is trying to find a conspiracy somewhere. And you'll hear that. All he does is try to find the conspiracy somewhere in it.
Yeah,
go ahead with what you were saying.
I was going to say that to a lot of these people, I did my research is I watch at some other derpling on the internet that confirms my views. So when I found one thing that confirms what my pre-selected conclusion, I latched onto it and never let go.
Yeah.
Looks like what I think right now is that they get everyone to focus on the pilot. I think that's
okay. So they sort of talk about it steering into the path of this plane, but what you have to understand is it was veering before it did this. Now, this was a military training flight that was following the Potomac River. I don't remember the name of the river. It's a famous one, sort of in DC. That sort of it was making its way by landmarks. I kind of had a thing of it. Here. So this is do you see how it's following this section of the river, crosses over, and then it navigates by the tip of this peninsula here of the Potomac River. So it's not trying to steer into the path of the plane. It is just navigating by landmarks, essentially, and the river. So, you know, this whole thing of, it was trying to hit the plane because it curved. It was curving before it ever came anywhere near it. So that is absolute nonsense. Like, and they show it themselves. That's the crazy thing. They show it themselves that it was curving down here. You know, it's so weird. It's weird.
Well, with the flat Earth motto, we will never let evidence get in the way of our beliefs.
Right. Got to lie to flirt, right?
Exactly.
Got to lie to flirt. Yeah.
They want everyone talking about who was flying the helicopter, what's their backstory, was it DEI? I actually think that's all a distraction. I don't think that
I hate that he's come to the right conclusion for absolutely the wrong reasons.
Yes.
You know, I hate that. Yes, it was a pilot in training. That pilot was a woman. That doesn't mean she was a DEI hire. I agree. Like, just because she happened to be the one involved, there was a lot of things that went wrong that night. And, you know, there has been a report since he did this thing, because of course there has, that has come out with, you know, why it actually occurred. And it's been reported in, there's a lot of online, you know, flight enthusiast websites that sort of go through it. The preliminary report is out from the National Transportation Safety Board, but it expects to do a final report in 2026. So they're not finished, right? They're still investigating. But what gets me is they do a preliminary report and they're still investigating. And this report came out in March. Witsit has made his conclusions like a few days after a thing. Oh, I've investigated and here's my conclusions, and going on a fake news channel to sort of say, hey, here are my conclusions from a dumbass flat earther who believes in conspiracy theories. This is the problem that we currently have, this misinformation. And I really hate that he's made the right conclusion for completely the wrong reasons, you know, completely the wrong. He thinks it's not DEI because it's a secret cabal causing plane crashes to, I don't know, to something. That's what he, like, it's terrible that that's the conclusion that he has, but has the right answer that it's not she wasn't a DEI hire. You know, it sucks. It's
oh my
so
God,
stupid.
look what I have here.
Oh,
I have a feeling his name is Cat.
Pilot, and this is my theory. I don't think the pilot even was controlling the helicopter. I think there's a DARPA program that was recently released where they can basically remote control the Black Hawk as an autonomous remote control access.
Yes.
If you look at what it did, it took off last minute and like beeline to the elevation.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
It was a remote controlled helicopter. Why?
How? Who?
Yeah.
When? Where? Like DARPA. How do you know? How do you know the ins and outs of freaking DARPA? Like, seriously?
So let's look at what the actual report says, right? This is the about the collision. It has the preliminary report there, but basically it was a number of things. It was that she went to the wrong height. The height was incorrect. She didn't listen to her trainer. The flight was intended to her instructor, the Chief Warrant Officer Andrew Lloyd Eaves. Lobach was the highest member of the crew, but Eaves and O'Hara had each logged more than double her flight hours. You know, Eaves, who at that time assumed a visual separation responsibilities, told Lobach he believed air traffic controller was telling them to move left, but no left turn was made. So they missed the instructions to turn left, kind of thing. So human error is what did it. It was a greater congestion over the airspace, controller complications, right? So it basically, the Black Hawk granted Eaves' request for visual separation. Basically, it was asked whether he saw the plane, and they said yes, but they may have been talking about a different plane, and the controller couldn't follow up because they were under pressure. And basically they had a lot more work than they usually do. So it was a whole bunch of things that contributed to it. One of those was not that it was a radio-controlled psyops trying to crash one into the other. Look, there is a saying, and that is never attribute to malice which can be easily explained by stupidity or incompetence. And here is a clear case of a number of things going wrong that that contributed to this failing. But this whole idea that it has to just be one thing, why does it have to just be one thing, and that is a psyop? Why? What evidence do you have of that?
What they call what is it, the pancake effect, basically a cascading chain of things that ends up in tragedy. It sucks that it happened, the loss of life is tragic, but it's an accident, and accidents happen in all walks of life all the time.
Yeah, and this was, we're not saying that nothing went wrong and this was sheer freak accident. Like they're investigating and trying to find out why this happened, and they've already put recommendations in order to stop it from happening. And this is what we do. We establish what's happened and put in recommendations so it doesn't happen again. Looks like a whole bunch of things cascaded into this occurring. Human error, mostly human error. A failure of the system to provide enough air traffic controllers is another one. The inability for the pilot to listen, or a miscommunication between the pilot and the not only the control, but their supervisor as well. But this is a tragic accident. This is absolutely tragic, and they're basically leveraging it for views and conspiracy clickbait, and basically making it into a conspiracy to get money out of people. Somebody else did that by the name of Alex Jones. So I would be very careful, Witsit, that this doesn't negatively affect the families of these people in the plane or in the helicopter, because if it does, they would probably have precedent, in my opinion, to sue you for damages of what you're doing right now. So be very careful, Witsit, because Alex Jones found out the hard way that you can't just spew your conspiracy theories online and walk away like nothing happened.
Yeah, you mess around, you find out. Mark, yeah. I'll take about 2 minutes. I need to go to the little boys' room, and I'll be right back.
Okay, mute up, and I will talk to you soon.
It took off last minute and beeline to the elevation to intercept the plane. And it being in DC, I mean, makes perfect sense, right? After the Pentagon's there. If you've ever been there, it's just very weird environment. It is locked down. The government is on top of every square inch of that place.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't. That is the center of intelligence, military intelligence in the country. It's very weird. They're locked down. Yeah, who would think that military intelligence installation would have high security? Who would have thunk it? It's weird, right? It's so strange. Why do you think this is weird? I don't get it. I have no idea why you would think that is strange. Of course, a military installation is going to have high security. There is nothing strange about that. It would be strange if it didn't, and they just let flat earthers just look up whatever they want in it. That would be weird.
And then Langley is nearby too. The CIA headquarters, of course, isn't too far away from that as well.
Yep, exactly. And they contract with DARPA all around that area. So that's what I currently think, because if you ever try to look into it, it's just this orchestrated dynamic of, was the pilot actually, qualified? Was she not? Was it DEI?
Okay, for a start, this whole thing, the pilot wasn't qualified. They were training. They were in a training exercise. So the pilot wasn't qualified. They were doing qualifications for night flying via no radar signal or some sort of usual flying that they do, and doing visual flying training. So they were relying on visual landmarks, and there was only a ping every few seconds for the location of the Black Hawk. So it's training people that, hey, when you're in a enemy airspace and piloting a Black Hawk, you can't just use a ground control that doesn't exist. So they're training them to do that. She did have a supervisor for you. It's like being in an accident with a learner driver and then going, were they qualified? Dude, what are you talking about? It's so random and stupid. He hasn't actually looked up the details for this. And of course he doesn't, because he just throws nonsense out there and expects everybody else to do the groundwork.
You can fall down that rabbit hole, I mean, it doesn't look like she was really qualified for that helicopter squadron. She didn't have the amount of hours that the typical person would.
No, that's why she had 2 people with double the hours teaching her in the frigging aircraft. This is the thing. You can't just say, hey, she didn't have the normal amount of hours when she's on a training flight. Oh, boy, it hurts my head. It really does. It really does. Why don't you understand how training works? A training flight, the person flying may not have the hours to be qualified, but how do you get them the hours to be qualified? Well, you go on training flights. Wow. Witsit, please please rub a brain cell together, maybe with another one if you have it, and realize how training works. Like, think of a learner driver. Okay, it's like a learner driver being in a crash and then saying, well, they didn't have the hours to have their license. Yeah, that's what they were doing. That's exactly what they were doing. Oh boy. Oh,
Jester
no.
says, but flying isn't real. That's what they think.
Well, that's a good straw man.
They acknowledge flying is real, but I actually heard people say that jets don't use fuel.
Right. Well, I got a better straw man for you. They couldn't have crashed because gravity isn't real. There you go. That's a better straw man for you. Yeah. Wow.
She got put on, Biden's admin basically just to sit there. So it's kind of weird, but I think that they just used her as a cover story. So why they did it is a good question, right? I don't know. Was it in the field? First, I just thought they maybe were testing the technology, but they could do that privately.
And this is tragic. Let's just stop for a moment and go, yeah, a passenger, I think 40-something people were killed in this crash. It was a tragedy. It was an absolute tragedy. And, he's basically using it to do a conspiracy theory that the government remotely piloted that into the passenger jet for reasons. And I don't, what is the captain who was piloting? What was she? A captain? Did they? Yeah, Captain Rebecca Lobach. Did her family just lose somebody? And you're basically saying, no, it was a psyop that didn't really happen. Be very careful, Witsit. This has been done before.
That's what they do with the people of the Challenger.
Yes. Yeah. People of the Challenger. Yeah. It's another thing that they do. This is really, really sort of, it's been absolutely horrible to the people of a tragedy that have lost their lives. It is absolutely, horrific. I don't know how else. This guy is like MC Toon said it. I'll say it. He's a piece of shit. If you are manipulating the tragedy to make money off of the and ignoring the grief of the people involved in order to push conspiracy theories, you have no sense of morality at all. You're a terrible person. You're Alex Jones is a terrible person. Yeah.
They are extremely immoral, and then he will in the same breath say, "Oh yeah, atheists don't want to believe in God because they want to free for all. They don't want any kind of moral accountability." Mm-hmm. I'm finishing a snack and I'll go back on camera.
Yeah, sure. No worries, Max. And let's not forget that we lost a service person in this crash, or 3 service people at least, I think. This isn't something for you to this has to be a conspiracy. No, this is a absolutely tragic loss of military personnel and civilians. Stop this at once. It is reprehensible, and I'm really disappointed. I didn't really think Witsit could sink much lower, but apparently there is no depth to which he won't sink to do his conspiracy nonsense.
Yeah.
So now you get into all these other plane crashes, right? And it seems like something else is maybe going on.
I agree. When I first saw that.
And let's not pass up this Deanna Lorraine. I don't know who she is, but her sort of fake newsroom, we're presenting you with news. You are just being a vulture, preying on the suffering of others to peddle a conspiracy narrative to get people to give you money. That's what you're doing. It's reprehensible. It's irresponsible. And I hope that if the families are offended, they sue you to the wall and take all of your stuff, just like what happened to Alex Jones. I hope so. Because if somebody who has a family member or a comrade in arms of the people piloting the Black Hawk, and they see this, they will be hurt. And you will deserve everything coming to you, because this is irresponsible. Do you think people in their division, in their platoon, in their unit are going to go, oh no, yeah, this was a psyop by the government, sure? What is wrong with you people? These are human beings. These are people that fight for your country that you're saying, oh, they're involved in this psyop.
It's
Absolutely
ironic that
reprehensible.
the U.S. Army has fought for the freedom that Witsit enjoys, so that he can go there out in public. It's so ironic.
Yeah, look, try to do that in Russia and say that, you know, an accident was a psyop by the government. See how far you get.
You might find yourself suddenly falling off a building.
Yeah, or poisoned for some reason by
or
somebody.
something.
Yeah.
Two, the first thing that came to my mind is, A, it's orchestrated, because I just don't see that happening. You know, I mean, usually.
What's this argument? What's the fallacy there, Max?
Personal incredulity is not an argument.
There you go.
my lady.
There you go. Witsit should know this fallacy. It's an argument from personal incredulity. I don't believe this could be a globe. I don't believe this could be just an accident. That's got nothing to do with it. We need more evidence than just your personal incredulity to say that this was actually some kind of operation by the government.
Usually Blackhawks and airplanes don't crash into each other. And usually just any airplane doesn't typically crash into another airplane. And especially in that most heavily watched airspace. So I thought too, this guy, I don't think they would sacrifice maybe somebody of their own. This is probably a remote.
You know what doesn't typically happen? Cars crashing into each other, except for when they do.
When they do, yes. And we take a lot of effort to make sure that nothing crashes. But this was not a usual situation. This was a situation where a Black Hawk was not using its usual navigation and was using visual navigation, basically. They were basically trying not to use the normal navigation methods, right? This wasn't a usual situation.
Right. But to me, this just speaks to a systemic issue of maybe that kind of training, you should do it away from regular traffic. And the U.S. has sections where there's restricted airspace over military bases, that kind of thing. So, and then also the whole problem with traffic controllers and this administration's attitude towards budget and that kind of a thing. So it's a melting pot of things that led to this.
Yeah.
And it's tragic. It's sad. It's people getting traumatized, but not only the people that are directly involved, the people that are just going about their lives and all of a sudden they're running away from debris. It happened over the river, but it's still something traumatizing to see, like, be hanging out by the water and you see like an air crash of this kind. Like it is tragic and it's sad.
Yeah. And how are we supposed to fix this if we can't even acknowledge what the problems are? And sort of go, well, it's all a conspiracy. What it kind of reminds me of, and that I think was just interesting and just so bewildering. It was basically that guy who said that the Epstein deaths were a conspiracy. He was going to release the files and he was going to show you the conspiracy. Got into government, I think it was Kash Patel actually, was head of the FBI and just went, oops, it wasn't a conspiracy. He actually did commit seppuku. Like, I don't like it. It's just so bewildering to see somebody who was so on board with this big conspiracy thing get to where he needs to be to uncover it and go, whoops, I was wrong. It's just sort of, not everything is a conspiracy. And why would they do this? Why? What possible reason could they have? It's weird. You're weird. These people are weird because they can't even point to who it serves or who it benefits. Number one, you're less confident in the abilities of the military. Number one, right? Number two, you're less confident in flying. That doesn't help anything. What are they trying to achieve? It's weird. It's really, really weird.
Look who we have here. Can you highlight Max V's last message? My boy,
Maximiliano.
Maximiliano, exactly. MVP of the audience of Sherba Mate Talks. And a great supporter. I love Max. I just
Good
watched
to
the whole
see you, Max.
semi-debate with Baby Flurf. I think we went past Baby Flurf. This was a zygote Flurf. This was below Baby Flurf.
A zygote. All right.
Yes.
Okay. That's it's an embryo Flurf. Oh no.
Yes.
It doesn't even have a brain to think yet. Oh, terrible. It was very bad. Okay.
It was
gotcha.
bad.
Gotcha, Max. It usually is, mate. But yeah. What was that on? Where was that?
Before earlier today at 6 p.m. Eastern, I had a debate with a Flurf I found on Facebook. And yeah, it lasted just 1 hour because there was nothing there. Like he was like,
nothing.
No.
Oh yeah, bad. Fair enough.
Controlled, autonomous type of plane or Black Hawk that they're flying. It just makes sense, especially when you saw that flight path. I mean, it does look like he was almost chasing.
It doesn't make sense because they're probably going to have a funeral for this military personnel, give the flag out, honor their service. What are they supposed to do? Are they living in like some kind of protection program in Idaho right now? Like what do you think is happening here when we have a captain in the armed forces that dies in a crash or allegedly dies in a crash? Where do they go? What about all the people that knew them? And do they just give up their lives? Are they overseas now? What happens in your view when this happens?
It starts snowballing into a conspiracy. And then the inevitable part of this is that they will find someone who kind of resembles them, but not really, has a whole life record before and after. And then they start harassing more people. So it starts snowballing into a storm of epic proportions, and it's pretty disgusting.
Yeah, because I think NetTube user is right. Once you start on this conspiracy thing and you don't want to give it up, you've got to create more conspiracies to keep it going. Like, well, why don't we see this military person? Oh, it's a conspiracy. They've moved them overseas. Why is nobody at that base? Well, it's a conspiracy. You know, these conspiracy theories breed more conspiracy theories. And I'm not saying there's no conspiracies in the world. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that we wait for evidence that it's a conspiracy. We don't just label it a conspiracy because you personally don't understand how it happened, especially when you haven't looked into how it happened. How could you? By the time they produced this, the FAA hadn't even done a report. You know, it's that kind of mentality that I'm going to tell you what happened without even an investigation being done by any kind of authority, that people who understand how planes and helicopters work. So they get on a flat earth idiot who doesn't know anything about anything and say, oh, this is what happened. I'm an authority now. You're an idiot.
Sorry, did you say authority? That's an appeal to authority fallacy, bro. Humbly.
Chasing the airplane and like trying to make a crash happen. Why? And so
exactly.
Yeah, and so I do think that it was autonomous. Perhaps whoever that they're putting up there as the pilot is like a patsy, is like either they're not a real person or they're a CIA plant or they are, a real photo, but maybe not the real person.
Yeah, and this is where we're saying, and NetTube user sort of said, yeah, it breeds more conspiracy theories. Then you have to have all of this poor woman's life and the two trainers have to be made up by the CIA and they're not really real. And then you have, well, there's obviously going to be service people in the armed forces that know and have worked with. Oh, they're planted by the CIA as well. It's all this, at a certain point, it's like, wake up, right? This isn't a conspiracy. This is like the victims of the shootings, the school shootings, right? Like, oh, they're fake parents being put in there to cry. Oh, they're fake brothers and sisters. And all of this builds up to, you are out of your fucking mind.
Yeah. Or the worst case scenario is someone like voluntarily sacrifice themselves or something like that. Like none of it makes any kind of sense.
Why is the question?
I don't know.
Not for money, because you're kaput after that. So like I always find that the why of the conspiracy is the thing that undoes the arguments the most. Like, okay, why would every single institution in the world lie about the earth being flat or a globe? Like, why?
Right.
What's the reason? And they never have anything.
Right. Well, they've taught their followers not to believe anything that the government says, anything at all. Right.
Yeah.
So you notice this where she
start to get,
basically
of course, like weird. And that's
well, I don't know. She basically says, I don't know why it happened, but things start to get weird. At that point, you can say, hey, we don't know. But instead of doing that, it's kind of like, I don't know why it happened, but it can't be what the government's saying because the government never says the truth. And that's, the government is a vast bureaucracy with a whole bunch of different departments within it. Just because part of the government has lied to you doesn't mean everything they say is a lie, right? So if the government says, hey, don't eat paint chips, they might have lead in them, it doesn't mean that's a lie and you're going to be super intelligent by eating them, right? Like you've got to separate, yes, it's good to have skepticism of the government. That doesn't mean you automatically say, well, I don't know what happened, but it can't be what the government says because they lie about literally everything. That's not the case. This could just be an accident.
The government says to drink water. I'm wondering what they drink for hydration.
I don't know. The government says to get medical checkups. The government says to test for cancer over a certain age. None of that is lying or trying to obfuscate or do a psyop, right? It's just good advice because not all of the government is lying to you. But they've taught their followers, whatever the government says, don't believe it. That's what they've taught, and that's what they believe themselves. So it can't be a tragic accident brought about by the conflux of all these different factors that resulted in a terrible, terrible accident. It has to be something more because it can't be what the government's telling you. And that's their problem.
that's how they create false flags. There's part of that the general public just don't know the full details of.
I don't put it past them to have that girl on the helicopter and then just hijack it and kill it, right? I mean,
that's true too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, she's just a perfect cover story because it does look like she didn't have the right amount of hours. And then Trump said
it was a training flight. She was getting the right amount of hours by doing the training. That's what she was doing. Oof.
Says something about DEI, and so does Elon. So that's just the narrative everyone's focused on. I now think that they want everyone to be in fear of the aircrafts being remotely hijacked. Because if you just see like the planes crash.
But the problem is that no one believes that the aircraft was remotely hijacked, right? So that's the problem with your theory. They're not trying to make people afraid of remotely hijacking a Black Hawk helicopter so people are going to be in fear of it happening, because no one except for idiots believe that. You're the person that believes that. No one else does. Just your conspiracy bubble. Like, even if they can remotely hijack Black Hawks, I'm not on Black Hawks a lot of the time, Witsit.
It just starts feeding back their paranoia with their conspiracy thinking, and everything is connected, and it becomes sort of a beautiful mind kind of a thing that they have their whiteboard and strings going from there. It's like, I found it.
Yeah, it's kind of like that Always Sunny thing with the red string and the board where he's like,
yes.
This person connects this. Yeah, absolutely. And it sort of becomes like, I don't know why a government that puts so much money into its military is hijacking Black Hawks to hit planes to make people afraid of flying. Most people are like, yeah, this is not something. Oh, Pepe Silva. Yeah, Pepe Silva conspiracy. That's what I was reminded of. Absolutely. Thank you, Maximiliano and Billy. Pepe Silva. Yeah, that's what it reminds me of. But, this, for some reason, why make people afraid of flight? It's still the safest method. You've got more chance of being in a car accident, even with the occasional accident in the air. Like, what possible reason? I don't understand any of this. This must be something, you must have to have like the brainworms to understand this one. I don't know what the hell is happening.
Yeah, no idea.
And now you got to wonder what's going on. Is there like an EMP? Are they intercepting?
An EMP that wipes out the electronics of what? because if the either craft lost power, they would descend and it wouldn't have happened. Well, both of them maybe, because we saw footage of them crashing. They didn't lose power. They had lights right up until the point they crashed. Like what the hell?
It's a special EMP.
Do you know the only way to make an EMP that we have at the moment, as far as I'm aware?
A byproduct. The one that I know is a byproduct of a nuclear explosion.
Nuclear explosion, yeah. We can't just make an EMP, as far as I understand it. If they have that technology, I don't think we can do it.
And
I'll have a look.
It has there's a lot of complications. Let's say we go with the EMP hypothesis. It's like, okay, why didn't everything else in a radius also turn off? Like the camera that is filming the accident.
Right.
What?
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
This makes no sense.
Oh, it makes zero sense. 0 cents. But of course, that doesn't stop a good conspiracy theory. You know, maybe it was Homelander. Maybe that was it.
Yeah, or leprechauns, or a unicorn fart.
Right. Maybe they thought they were on a sphere Earth and they got confused because they were on a flat Earth. How about that one? You idiot. Yeah.
The planes themselves, because like you said, just literally makes no sense. Statistically speaking, you don't have flights that crash in major metropolitan areas back to back. Absolutely absurd. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. You're not going to be a conspiracy theorist to think that those were all just random, right? I mean, just statistically, there's just
No, we don't think they were random. We think they were caused by, well, for one, understaffed air traffic controllers. They've already come out and said that with this one, they didn't have the amount of air traffic controllers on that they usually would. It was unusual for that time not to have another air traffic controller for helicopters and military aircraft, and one guy doing both. So no, we don't think it was random, like, oh, this just happened, randomly. There were reasons it happened, but what it is not is a psyop by the government. Like, this is the problem.
There's no way. So yeah, I don't know. It's a good question what they're doing. I mean, I would say be on the lookout for any narratives about Iran did this or whatever, anything that can work.
Literally nobody is saying that.
No one
is saying that. I realize this is just after the crash and they were like, oh, maybe they'll come out and say Iran did it. No, they haven't. So why are you spouting this? They haven't. Oh, they knew because I said it. No, Witsit. No one cares about what you say. Go away. Seriously.
And a little bit of his anti-Semitism always shines through, because if you follow that line of reasoning, I don't know if you're aware that Witsit is hugely anti-Semitic.
I did not know that.
Oh my God, yes. Would you like to see the evidence?
No, not really.
Okay.
I don't want to see any anti-Semitism.
If you take my word for it, if you go to Witsit's Twitter, you'll find some posts about how the mustache man wasn't too bad, about how there is no evidence that the mustache man ever gave an order, gave the final solution or gave any kind of order. So yes, he's a fan of
what
that.
He talked about it in his books. He literally talked about purifying blood in his book. Like, what is he talking about? He did speeches with him on camera saying that the Jews were poisoning the blood of the Aryan nation.
Yep, but apparently Witsit never got that memo.
Oh, for fuck's sake, seriously.
Exactly.
Orchestrate a war that they're supposedly intercepting our airspaces. That's where I'm at right now. I think there's something much bigger at play, and we have to be honest, it is kind of creepy, right? Like, I have a few flights booked in the near future, and I'm like, this is weird. Like, I'm kind of sketched out, and I don't.
Why?
It's okay. No one is targeting you.
Yeah,
you're inconsequential. You're literally insignificant. The government doesn't even know who you are.
And crashes have happened before. In fact, this isn't the worst crash to happen. Other crashes have happened. Like, in the history of airlines, usually most crashes are caused by mechanical failure or human error, one of the two. This one seems to be human error. I don't see why it's such a big deal, though. Like, when sort of they're investigating, they're going to come up with why. And part of the preliminary findings already say, hey, human error and understaffing of control towers. I don't see how that's random. That if you don't have as many people on controlling flights and helicopters and aircraft, that more confusion over where they are arises. I don't see why that's not a parallel. I don't understand.
Me neither.
Wow.
I don't care to fly, but now I'm like, am I gonna crash or what?
Yeah, exactly. That's so I think the DEI again, they're they went down that rabbit hole sort of with Boeing, with the Boeing story that was a while back, and with the firefighters and why.
Well, no, Trump went down that route because ultimately the amount of people in control of the FAA air traffic controllers and stuff is ultimately the government's responsibility, federal government's responsibility. So he was willing to blame anything except the amount of people he had staffed in FAA. Don't forget that Elon Musk had just gone through with a chainsaw cutting out everybody he thought was non-essential. But, at the end of the day, DEI, no. She was a helicopter captain. She was a captain. She had not gotten in there from a free pass. It is, they said, oh, it's DEI. She didn't have the number of hours that she needed to pilot the helicopter. DEI. It's like she was in a training flight to get the hours. She wasn't saying, hey, you're a woman, so we're going to put you there without the hours. They were saying, yes, you are a pilot. You need a certain amount of hours to be qualified. Let's do training flights with you.
Yeah, that's how you get the hours.
Right,
I often wonder, what is it exactly that triggers them of DEI? Is it the diversity? Is it the equity? Is it the inclusion? Sometimes I think it's all three because they are, excluding discriminatory racists, I would say.
Right.
But I've never got an answer as to why, like, okay, what is it exactly DEI that triggers you like this? Like, why can't you let people live?
They see DEI instead of what it is, which is you have to have a criteria for excluding people. Like, for instance, Trump, basically, he was caught out, it was a while ago now, when, people would go looking for apartments, and he would have apartments for rent to white people, but not to black people. Right. Like, so when they sent basically reviewers or, whoever they were using to see if this was happening, when they went up, a black man who was a agent went up to them and said, hey, do you have any apartments to rent? They said no. And when a white guy did it, they said, yes, come right in. This is discriminatory practice, and that's what we're talking about. So we're not talking about a black person goes to get a job, they're vastly underqualified, and they just get it. No, that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is there is something to stop racist employers from going, well, we've got two people, we've got a white guy and a black guy. The black guy's slightly more qualified, but he's black. So let's get the white guy, right? Because this does happen in certain areas and fields in professional hiring. It does happen. It does happen that people say, oh, we've got a man and a woman engineers. Well, women are obviously worse engineers than men. We'll take the man. That happens. Okay, it does. And if you don't think so, you haven't been in these industries enough, because it does happen. I know from my own experience, female engineers are not taken seriously by some segments of the field out there, and that is a mistake, because I know some engineers that are very good, and women. So DEI isn't designed to stop that. It's designed to stop prejudice from basically coloring or influencing who you hire, and that you hire based upon merits only, and go for the guy that has the better resume, even though he is black. That's what it's designed to do. But they're taking it as, when two candidates apply, it's always these DEI hires that get hired because they've got to fulfill quotas, which they don't. And they've got to, show that they're hiring these types of people, which they don't. what they've got to do is show that they're not biased towards white Christian men, basically.
Yep.
That's it. But they think it means, hey, I'm not going to get a job because the company will hire somebody who's not my skin color.
Yeah, and in their head, it's like, oh, look at all these undesirables. They're getting my job. It's like, dude, you're not even an engineer. Shut the fuck up and sit down.
Well, they interpret it as a prejudice against them. When there is two candidates of, similar capabilities, they go, well, it's prejudice towards me personally, it's prejudice towards against my. So it's kind of this, well, it's racism against white people. And in the past, there's been no doubt that there's been prejudice against people of other colors, and DEI was designed to stop that. There's no doubt that, that was there. And they say, oh, it doesn't happen anymore, but it does.
It does. Especially in the US, like Uruguay, Uruguay is a place where racism, I had to learn what racism was from other places. I've never seen discrimination except in a handful of isolated cases, but I had to learn that people really care about the color of your skin and the color of your hair and the color of your eyes and how the manner in which you speak, and all of these categories that are thought out to exclude a vast amount of people that are not the way that I am, right? The way that the race is, that the discriminatory person is. So I never experienced that until I got, a little bit more out into the world. And it's heartbreaking because I don't care about your color, where you're from, what you do. I just care about I just care about what you do as a person, if you're a moral person, if you're a helpful person, if you're empathic and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I might go hard when people are discriminatory, because I think that gives me a little bit of a license to be horrible, specifically to that person. But that's me. I kind of I like to throw down.
Well, Karl Popper wrote a lot about it, that intolerance should never be tolerated. That you should not tolerate intolerance from people. So if people are sort of saying, hey, this person, they've been put in that job simply because of their skin color, that's kind of racist. That is racist, because that person could have earned their way just as easily. But they were doing it to Kamala Harris, that she slept her way to the top. Just because she's a woman doesn't mean she slept her way. This is the kind of racist, sexist language that we have to hear out of them time and time again. And then say, oh, you're racist against us, you're sexist against us. No.
I remember when they used to say, she doesn't make up her mind. Is she black? Is she Indian? It's like, dude, she can be both. You have two parents. You can have a black parent and an Indian parent. So you have both heritages, but that blows their mind even more. Yep. Isa gets a lot of the hate from racists because they can't understand how... they can't understand how he has Jewish heritage as well as Muslim heritage, and it just throws them for a loop. And we have a couple of racists that come to basically bash on Isa, and I have a field day with those people. Yeah, which you should. There's no reason to tolerate that. No way.
In LA. And I do think that's a cover story for sure, because then everybody's focusing on that. Oh, it's DEI. Oh, it's that they weren't qualified. They were incompetent. I don't believe that people are just incompetent nowadays. I really just don't. I don't believe in competence. I believe people were put there.
Oh my God, no!
I believe her. I think she doesn't believe in incompetence because she has Witsit, gets it. Austin Witsit as an expert on her panel talking about this, because he is incompetent. He literally fits the actual definition for being incompetent to discuss this. He is not competent. I'm not competent to discuss this. I'm incompetent to be an expert. Do you see how I'm referring to the reports that have been put out and what the experts and the FAA has been? I'm not relying on my own, I think this is a conspiracy theory because it's weird. I am incompetent to make that designation. But Witsit sure as crap is as well. So yes, I believe her that she doesn't know what incompetent means. Hi, Tori.
I've been in kind of, you know, this YouTube circle about a year, a little bit over a year and a half, and I have heard all the kinds of derp that you can imagine. But I've never heard someone say, I don't believe in incompetence. It's like, lady, why don't you apply to, I don't know, the US soccer team, the US female soccer team, or the WNBA, and you can kind of experience incompetence by yourself? Like, holy cow. How disconnected do you have to be to say, I don't believe in incompetence? Like, lady, can you juggle? No. Okay, then you're incompetent at juggling. Right. Debate over.
Right. Well, I mean, but it's sort of like, have you never hired a trade person and they've done a bad job? Like, have you never done that? Have you never had somebody out to fix something at your house because you know, it may be a problem, you know, with the plumbing or something that you're not skilled enough to do? Guess what? You're incompetent to do that. Exactly. That's not a bad thing. People specialize in stuff, and that's what they don't understand. It's all like, well, my opinion's just as good as anybody else's on this subject. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Like, I'm really sorry, Witsit, but my opinion on, you know, my opinion on these network devices that you're talking about is worth way more than yours, because at least I have studied that. I'm really sorry, but it is. You know, and that's the problem. He thinks that he is competent on everything, while at the same time being completely incompetent at almost everything.
Yeah. Wow.
And I'm not using that. I'm not using that as an insult. I'm incompetent in almost everything as well. Everybody's almost incompetent at everything, except for the, you know, narrow field that they've gone into. Right. Yeah. Like, so if I was piloting a Black Hawk helicopter, I'd be incompetent as well.
Pretty much, yes. I mean, I can't play soccer. I can't play sports in general. Like, there's a bunch of things. And being aware of our own incompetences and focusing on the things that we actually are good at, that's a good thing. But they don't like to say they don't know, and they don't like to admit that they can't do something, which is extremely weird. It's like, dude, we have limitations. It's okay.
Yeah.
Or put there because they're incompetent, but they were put there, they were orchestrated, these events, in order to fulfill a certain agenda. And it's not just about to point fingers at DEI, it's about something probably much darker than that. You know, the wildfires in LA, I don't think it was just to say, oh, well, California's super incompetent, you know, so this kind of things happen. No.
Seriously?
The wildfires that happened in LA are mostly due to we can tell meteorologically how the wind came off the thing and all of the things that contributed to that wildfires. Like, you know, are you going to say the wildfires in Australia are a psyop? The wildfires in LA are a psyop now. Why?
We get wildfires here in bumfuck nowhere, Uruguay. Are those a psyop too, or is it just that potentially, maybe just there's a slight possibility that during the summer, when the vegetation dries up and you have fall has gone by and you have a mattress of dry leaf in the floor of the forest, that any kind of tiny little spark or even a ray of sun going through a water droplet on the side of a leaf leads to a magnifying effect that starts a fire. Oh, gee. No, it has to be a conspiracy. It has to be some kind of... I'm kind of waiting for the biblical prophecy angle, because they kind of like to derp down that road. This is wild.
Oh, no, it's on 1.25, actually. It's on 1.25. Someone's saying on 2 times speed is painful to listen to. This isn't 2 times speed. This is 1.25 speed. I'm not even joking.
Well, I think they're very competent, and they're trying to fulfill agenda, which is most likely smart LA 2028. You know, it's most likely a land grab to get all these people off of the land and then use it for a different purpose. That's with the LA wildfires. Now, with the plane crashes.
Yeah, so the conspiracy is they light wildfires, destroy everything, and then get people off the land. You know, they still own the land even if it burns down. You know
they
that's
can
the
just
thing, right?
they can just print enough money to purchase it off of them, and they could buy like a whole swath of the state because it's the government, right? Like,
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah, I don't know what, and burning down all the businesses and things like that. Yeah, I get that it's a problem, and there would be, like, insurance isn't covering it anymore because it happens too frequently. I get that, but I don't think it's incompetence, and I don't think it's, this conspiracy to get the land. I think it's a natural disaster which is getting worse as the planet's getting hotter.
Oh, but climate change is not real, bro.
Oh, it does not real. Well, I didn't say it was climate change. I said the planet's getting hotter, which is sort of, completely backed up by readings of the atmospheric temperature.
Appeal to thermometer, bro. No, you can't do it.
Yeah.
That's a fallacy.
I still don't know.
No.
Oh, I think usually when false flags or orchestrated events like this happen, you kind of start connecting the dots within a couple months. Things start making sense, and you think, okay, aha, that's the reason why they did this.
No, they don't. Like you guys will find the evidence that you want to find to back up your original thought. It is going out. It's confirmation bias, and this is what they do. It's absolutely horrible.
So it could be to strike fear in the hearts of people for traveling, right? Like, I don't know if I want to travel right now. I don't know if I want to go on a plane right now. I'm kind of scared to fly. That's certainly what they did with COVID. They made people afraid to travel and afraid to fly. So this could be kind of round 2 of that, a different variant.
Yeah, so this is the medical misinformation that they're coming out with. COVID was just a psyop to make people afraid to fly, afraid to travel. No, it wasn't. It was to try to limit the spread of a very real disease. And why do you think you are qualified to comment on this? I don't know. I think this was originally on Rumble. If she's making statements like this, I know why she's on Rumble.
Oh,
but
100%.
Fuck Witsit for spreading medical misinformation on his channel. Like, seriously. That is terrible. That is terrible. And what you'll notice is, you may hassle me, and I got hassled in my chat about being an Australian and we had lockdowns and things. Yeah, and our death rates were so low in comparison to the US ones. I wonder why. Is it because we isolated our cities so people couldn't travel back and forth and move the disease around? Is it because we limited contact so that people wouldn't spread the disease? Funny thing is, why did it work then? If it was just this psyop, why did it work? It's crazy. Like, if they just sort of say, oh, well, this doesn't work, that doesn't work, then why did less people die? Yeah,
it's hard
to fire hosing their bad ideas.
To handle the derp sometimes.
Yeah. And so I didn't want to do all of this. I just wanted to show the problems with this thinking, that they have been, they will find a conspiracy in literally anything. They do not trust anything around. I don't know how they live their lives. But I'll wrap that up because, when we start getting into COVID conspiracy theories, I'm out. You have no more leg to stand on. You have nothing more to contribute towards the conversation, because that is you pretending to be a medical expert, and that is a scumbag move.
Well,
that is absolutely a scumbag move.
Witsit is doubling, tripling down, or even quadrupling down. I was reviewing one of his latest streams, and he said, oh, germ theory is incorrect. And he's like, dude, I've watched germs and collected samples of germs myself and then examined them in the microscope in high school, and I saw the germs. Mm-hmm. Like, how can you doubt germ theory? It's like, at some point, the only way, and you were asking just now, how do they live? I don't know how they live like that. Like, I couldn't possibly live like thinking everyone is out to get me, and everything is a lie, and you can never really know anything. That is such a sad existence, and I think that's why you see them, derping out like that. Witsit is the shovel right now. Witsit is a shade of his former self, because
that's not that's not a lot. Like, he wasn't that great to begin with.
Yes, the starting point wasn't that great, but he doesn't know his place, because start piling on, trying to get in that mindset. Everything they've ever taught you was a lie. Everyone is out to get you. Now you don't even have an audience. You don't even have a show. You can't get any money. Personal problems. It's like, it's hard, and they don't believe in therapy. They don't believe in asking for help. They don't believe in any kind of authority. That must be the most horrible state of mind that you can be in without having, a mental pathology like that.
Yeah, but the way out of it is not just to double down on it, kind of thing. Like, he's just doubling down on it, tripling down on any conspiracy he can latch onto, and that's not the way to balance your life. Like, the scary thing about this, and maybe it's because I'm Australian, but the scary thing is that these people are paranoid about the motivations of everybody around them and what everybody is saying to them, and they live in their own little world, and they have guns. That's the scariest part to me. That is the scariest part to me, that they think that everybody's out to get them, everybody's lying to them, everybody is trying to convince them of this thing that is, quite frankly, just true, that we see around us and have tons of evidence for. Witsit sort of says, oh, you've got no demonstration, no this, no. It's been provided over and over and over and over. And the final experiment was like the nail in Witsit's coffin. It was the end of that discussion as far as I'm concerned. And he's just jumping back on that bike and pedaling furiously, trying to get through it. And it's like, it's over. Like, you said for years you couldn't go south of the 33rd degree or whatever. He said for years there was no 24-hour sun. And as soon as he gets to prove it, he changes his tune and says, oh, well, we incorporated it. Get out of here, man. Like, seriously, now at this point, you're just making stuff up. But convincing a whole load of people that everything is made up and they need to stop it, it doesn't end well. Like, it ends badly. And it's he's a terrible person. Sorry, go ahead, Max. It's just
I was going to say that on his stream that is called Flat Earth Comeback, Witsit, after having gone to Antarctica and seeing that it's a very inhospitable place, that it's not a place where you can just decide to go there. You need extreme preparation, you need extreme resources, a lot of money. He actually said, not less than a week ago, he said, oh, but you can't freely and privately explore. It's like, what do you want to explore? You will just freeze.
Well, the thing was,
it's not Disney World.
The thing was, they said they could take them to any place that they wanted to go as long as they surveyed it and made sure it was safe, kind of thing. Like, so they could have gone places. It just, Witsit didn't do that. He didn't go out for hikes to random places that they surveyed first and said, yeah, this is safe to go. Because there's ravines and crevasses and, ice ravines that you can fall down and be very, very hurt. Like, they're trying to keep them safe. But you can go out and say, hey, we want to go here. And they will go, okay, is that on a stable glacier? Sure, let's go. But he didn't do that because he sat on his ass the entire time and streamed to his audience. That was the priority for the man, allegedly. And it's my... Sorry, go ahead. No, you go.
Then they will take the dodge of like, oh, well, it's really expensive. It's like, well, duh. But it's really expensive to have a Ferrari. It's really expensive to have a Bugatti. Like, stuff costs money in this world.
Yeah.
I don't know what you want. Do you want communism so you can go to Antarctica for free? Is that what you want?
He did go to Antarctica for free.
He went for free.
Yeah, because Will Duffy paid for it.
Correct.
Yeah. So, what does he want? He wants Will Duffy to cover everybody to go there? Like, but it doesn't, but none of these protests, right? None of these protestations and these, but you weren't allowed to freely just wander off. You weren't allowed to this. None of it addresses why there's a 24-hour sun in the sky, right? None of it addresses what your initial claim was. There's no 24-hour sun. And then you basically moved the goalposts on that one. And it doesn't explain why you're allowed to go beyond the 33rd parallel, which, you said you weren't allowed to do, and then you moved the goalposts on that one. You were allowed to do it. You did see the 24-hour sun. And instead of actually addressing that and going, okay, here's how it works on a flat Earth, it's just, well, we don't know what it is, but it must be something else. The Earth is still flat. And, we weren't allowed to just wander off into the Antarctic wasteland and go wherever we wanted. Are you insane? Have you got a death wish? Is this, this is a dangerous environment. It's like saying, well, I got taken on a trip to Amazon, but I wasn't allowed to just wander off into the Amazon rainforest alone. What?
Yeah. There's like all kinds of dangers, like anacondas,
right,
snake jaguars, tribes that don't really like outsiders too much. They're so unaware of the actual dangers and stuff. I think they believe that they're some kind of superhero. That it's like, oh yeah, I could go to Antarctica and survive without food, without resources forever because I'm Witsit.
Well, I think that look, with one thing I've noticed when I talk to flat earthers, right? The one thing that has also come up, apart from the religion thing, which usually is a factor in it, another thing is they usually haven't traveled outside of their local area. Usually, that's certainly an exception for some people, but usually they are very insular to the town or the place where they live, and they haven't traveled very far away from it. Like they certainly haven't, taken trips around the world and gone to, Netherlands and gone to Uruguay and gone to, any of these places and seen, just how far it is, just how high you go when you're on a jet, just, but they haven't got this perspective, and traveling really does open your mind to other ideas and things like that. It really does. Billy, germs obstacle can't agree with draconian lockdowns in Australia. Well, to be honest with you, mate, they weren't exactly draconian, right? They basically, most people agreed with them because we understand how germs are transmitted. Like what the media isn't telling you is that a vast majority of people were in favor of that. That's what they're not telling you. And there were people who did want to protest against it and go out and mingle and things like that. And, the basically the police stopped them from doing it because it was transmitting disease. Like, this is the thing. You put policies in place. To us, that was important. It might not have been to you. I get it. But there was a few requirements. You had to wear a mask and you had to social distance. That's it. There was, that's it.
Oh,
and
we kind of did the same thing. The people here just understood. It's like, yeah, okay, makes sense not to gather, not to.
Yes.
And
yes.
If you need to go to the shopping center because you need to buy a pair of jeans or a pair of pants or a t-shirt, it's like, okay, put on your little mask, go do your thing and get out.
But we had like tracking of, say, outbreaks to, where somebody had a gathering of people. And it's not rocket science to understand why. So I get, there's a lot of things my government does that I'm not in support of, right? If they implement a law that says X, Y, or Z, I might say, well, I'm not for that. But I still follow the law, right? Because those representatives that have been elected by majority of people have put that law in place. You don't have to like it. You just have to obey the law. And as soon as this was sort of the population was vaccinated and all of it was done, they dropped it. Okay, it wasn't there forever. It was just a temporary thing until we could protect the most vulnerable in our society with autoimmune disease and things like that, with herd immunity. That's it. And they made that very clear from the start. That's exactly what they did. So I don't have a problem with it. And most people supported those because I don't want to go out there, bump into somebody that has an autoimmune disease that can't have a vaccination and literally kill them. I don't want to do that. So I was perfectly fine with it. Lots of people were perfectly fine with it. because Australians understand that we take care of us. We take care of our own. Okay, and that's what we got to do to do it. That's what we'll do.
And the other thing is that we have mechanisms. Unfortunately, with democracy, it is one downside that you sometimes get drawn into situations that you don't like. Maybe laws get passed that you don't agree with. But the beauty of the democratic system is that you have ways, you have to follow them at first, but you have ways to campaign to get that law overthrown, or you can campaign yourself, become yourself a politician. And you know, it's hard, but it's not impossible. Like, there's nothing preventing you other than money, with pretty much like everything else. So, I mean, it is the way the world works now, and we kind of have to operate. This is part of our social contract with each of our states, that this is the way things are. And if you want to change it, you can do it, but it will take you a lot of effort and work.
Yeah, unions protest. Some people protested, okay, but you know, at the end of the day, that's one of the laws they put in it. And you know, a lot of mistakes were made, especially by the eastern states. They let a cruise ship come into port when they shouldn't have. Like, the government went, oh, we've got to get this cruise ship in. They didn't put up enough restrictions on letting people get off the cruise ship. Guess what happened? There was a massive outbreak because of that. This isn't like me just going, oh, well, this is the experts, doctors saying this is what will prevent it. Like, this is the thing. You can't just sit there and go, oh, well, you know, I'm going to have the same opinion as an epidemiologist, somebody that studies outbreaks, and say, oh, I'm going to have a different opinion and mine's just as valid. No. We cut our state off completely. There was nobody in or out from any other state, and we did fantastic because of that single move. Because of that single move, we did fantastic because people weren't traveling.
In Uruguay, we didn't have to like really clamp down. People, for the most part, kind of hunkered off, and we didn't have to implement any strict things. So you were free to, I don't know, go to the park and that kind of stuff. The shopping centers were still open.
Yes.
But people were wearing their masks and trying to stay away from each other. And if they were sick, trying to not to go away. We did have some problems with, you know, deaths, but we did fairly well.
Yeah, and all of the countries that did that, I mean, there was one country, I think it was Spain, were basically, no, was it Sweden? It was one of the Scandinavian countries, I think. They basically just said, okay, well, we're going to just push through it and then we'll get immunity. They gave that up. There was too many deaths and they gave it up. They basically went, no, we're going to lockdowns and social distancing and masks because this has gotten out of control. You know, it's just look at those countries which didn't do it and what their figures are. It is a disaster. The countries that did it came out not too bad, and that is the case of it. And you know, we have science to be able to work with it. It's totally fine. We got over it anyway. But that's not the cause. It's just sort of hijacking the entire conversation, Billy, with this sort of conspiracy theory stuff.
Derailed.
I guess just be aware that a vast, overwhelming majority of people in Australia were for the actions that the government took. So it's not our government did badly. In fact, the premier, the state leader, you would call it a governor. It's premier over here. The premier of our state was the most liked premier in our entire history for what he did. So let that sink in for a bit. Okay, and you may want to do something different in your country. Fine. Leave us do what we need to do to be safe in our country. Don't push your stuff upon us, because we will listen to the experts. We will listen to the epidemiologists. We will listen to the virologists. We will listen to the doctors and medical experts rather than some dude off the internet who thinks he's an expert on everything. And I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about Witsit. Okay, yes. That's not... Yeah, we don't listen to him. We listen to people who study that field. Okay, we don't listen to people who are just running their mouth off on the internet. And I'm saying, don't listen to me. Listen to the people with degrees and doctorates and have worked their lives, their entire lives, in getting information about this. This is what Kif Davies was sort of saying earlier. You know, people go on to debates and they think they can debate Kif Davies on the Bible. What is wrong with you? Like, seriously, he is a doctor of you know, biblical studies. Like, he literally has studied and handled the Dead Sea Scrolls. You know, why do you think that your opinion is going to be better than his when he has devoted his life to studying the material?
That is so badass. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
That is such a baller move. It's like, yeah, I handled the Dead Sea Scrolls. What have you done?
Yeah, because he is trained to do so, and you know, and of course they're so old it needs care. Like, he is a great guy, very knowledgeable. Like, you know, Dr. Josh, incredibly knowledgeable. He writes books on the subject. He does papers on the subject. That's the more important point, that they don't just write a book, they actually publish papers on the subject. So excuse me, Billy, seriously, listen to somebody that's published papers on the subject rather than just what somebody thinks online. It just doesn't even come close. But anyway, I'm going to finish up there. Max, thank you so much for joining me. I've had
thank you, Mark. This was fun.
Blasting Witless for being just terrible. And, you know, the thing that bothers me most is the way that he says, you've got no proponents. You've got no one that wants to debate. Tons of people wants to debate. It's just he's had his ass kicked by people, and so he avoids people that may make him look bad. That's on you, Witsit. I've had a standing offer to Witsit. I've bugged him upon occasion to say, hey, debate me on flat earth if you dare. And he runs like a coward every single time. He will not debate me. Even though I've said I'll be reasonable, have a moderator that will stop me if I interrupt, all of the stuff to protect your little feelings about the debate. And he says, no, I don't feel up to it. You know, I don't want to do it. It's the most excuses I've ever heard from anybody. So don't then go online and go, well, no one wants to debate. There's plenty of people. There's me and Max that want to debate, but he does not, you know. And I noticed he debated some new guy, and the new guy kicked his ass. He was so good. I can't remember his name, but I've never seen him go into another debate against that guy, and he won't. I predicted. I said, you know, he'll never debate that guy again because he put up a fight. He basically showed some of his reasons to be nothing but fallacies and stupid stuff. So
I think you're talking about. I think you're talking about Will, curly hair dude.
Yes, the curly hair
Will,
guy.
He's an engineer. Yeah, top tier.
Yeah, Will.
I loved it.
Oh, he did fantastic. He did fantastic.
Would you like a little gossip before we go, just so we can leave fuming?
What's the gossip?
Okay.
Be aware that this is gossip. My channel does not endorse this as fact and is simply opinion. Max's opinion from Sherba Mate. Go for it.
So apparently no, I actually heard on his last stream that Witsit is going to be writing a 5-volume book on the ether.
Oh, sure he is. Yeah. No, I'm sure.
I mean, it's that kind of gossip. It's innocuous nonsense, but
I
can't wait to read that.
Look, the number of times Witless has promised a paper or promised some sort of evidence or promised to back up his claims and it's never come through. I just doubt, you know, like I have doubts. I'm sorry. I really, really do. So, you know, I would not hold my breath for a book, much less volumes of books. And he's already said he doesn't do maths for anything. So I don't know what he's going to put in it if he doesn't give the equations for the, you know, electric universe or whatever the hell he's doing. You know, I don't know what he's going to put in there. Just like, trust me, bro, and then write that for, you know, there. Okay. Anyway, okay.
Speech. All right. Yes. Sorry.
Well, that's juicy, but I wouldn't hold my breath for sure. Thank you so much for joining us here. We'll be back next week. Now I will have, I'll be over at Ember's channel this Saturday night Eastern time, or Sunday for those in the future, for a debate dissection, which should be fun. And that will be awesome. And then we have the usual aimbot coming out Tuesday night Eastern time or Wednesday my time. So yeah, things are rolling. Thank you so much to Max joining us. Thank you for joining us, giving us your time. I hope you found it enjoyable. I hope that, you know, that some of the explanations actually make sense, because it did take me a while to do, because, and this is the problem, he throws out claims and it takes you ages to research it. But I like that I've actually helped in some way. Don't forget, as I always say, be kind to yourself, be kind to each other. Don't call tragic accidents a conspiracy until you actually have proof of it, because it hurts people, please. And don't forget to like, subscribe. Please do share with your friends if you think it could be instructional for their witless destruction. Take care, and I will see you in the next one.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.